Where's all my babies at? Anyway, so we're going to jump directly into this show tonight. This is a show that everybody has been waiting for, and Fact Check TV has brought you what you need. I know there's going to be a lot of questions that are going to pop up tonight. There's going to be a lot of comments, questions, and concerns. So we are going to try to get to everybody the best that we can. We have hi Monique, hi Honey Bunny, hi 008, hi Nikki. Hi guys, how are you doing? So we are going to basically, hi Robert, I know, let me take my time. Hi Julie's, hi honey. I know it's late and we definitely apologize for logging in late. Hi JJ, how are you doing? Hi Danielle, hi Tani, hi C, hi Sam, hi Black, hi Jacqueline, hi Revy. Hi guys, so we are going to go ahead and jump right in. I know it's late, I do apologize. However, people have been working all day and trying to get prepared for the holidays. So I just want to go ahead and introduce our guest as quick as we can. We have Kayla, who is on the line. Kayla is a pathologist assistant, and she is going to give her professional opinion on the autopsy report and basically just her opinion about what she feels about what happened to Kenneka. So again, for those of you guys who know, the credentials have been 100% checked out. Kayla is very solid. She has been in the field for quite a while, and she has some very good information that she's going to be able to provide to everybody and that we will be able to provide to the case. So I will let Kayla take over. Nursey, do you have any questions that you want to start off with or ask her regarding the autopsy report?
Not really. I'd like for her to basically give her opinion or her synopsis of what she saw, what looked right, what she would question. I guess my first question, and I'll let her get into it, and I don't know if she can handle, if she can address it, is the time of death. How often in a case like this do they not determine an approximate time of death, or at least say in the autopsy report why they could not? That would be my first question. And then after that, if you can explain that, and then go into what you find, what you found or stood out to you in the report.
Okay, so it's funny that you asked that as your first question, because those are one of the first things that actually stood out to me in the report. So when I sat down with my pathologist and we looked over the report, that was one of her questions, like, well, where is the actual time of death and the date of death? And I noticed they do not have that in the report. And according to the CDC and their regulations and protocol on what should happen during an autopsy report, those are the two, most vital pieces of information that should have been provided. My second thing that stood out to me is that in the report, they did not mention what her core temperature was. And I think that's important, especially when you're trying to say that this young lady died from hypothermia. Okay, so that means that one of the first things they should have done was, record the temperature of the inside of that walk-in freezer, as well as her core temperature, because how are you going to say somebody dies from hypothermia and you don't even take a temperature on them? And that's just standard in autopsy protocols either way. Like whenever we do autopsies, when I trained at the medical examiner's office in Chicago, and the autopsies that we do at the hospital, you're supposed to take a temperature. That's just standard. And so I'm trying to figure out why that is not in the report. And that should be in the report, especially if you're saying someone's death was due to hypothermia. The third thing that stood out to me was that, they said, okay, well, we saw her walking in the kitchen around like 3-something in the morning. And, but we didn't actually see her walk into the freezer. So how can you assume that she walked in there? So how can you assume that, okay, her death is due to hypothermia? It's just not making any sense to me. It's like they're like taking bits and pieces of information without the actual mechanism at which she got there and just painting a picture like, okay, she must have died from hypothermia.
Right. And that was one of the main questions that I had, because for the reasons that they gave the her blood alcohol level, they gave to paramate, which potentiates that. And then they said in the autopsy report, based on the observation on film of her walking into a freezer. But I'm like, to me, in my opinion, I know that they can give that, but to my opinion, the autopsy should be based on science. In other words, on what you find in the body and what you find in the autopsy, not what you observe of her supposedly going into a freezer. I mean, or even if you, they said that she was very intoxicated by the way that she was staggering and walking. Well, I mean, to me, after you've done all the signs, all the work, then I would think, then maybe if you were unsure, you would go and look at the film. You see what I'm saying?
Can you hear me, guys?
Yes.
So we could do a sound check. People are saying they can't hear. So can you guys hear us? Can you put up a 1 if you can hear and a 2 if you cannot hear? I have a 1, so I see somebody can hear us. Can I get a 1 if you can hear us? Okay, so we have a lot of 1s, so I'm not sure why the people who can't hear us cannot hear us. Let me just take a moment to say hi, Lady, hi, Nine, hi, Rev, hi, P, hi, Robin, hi, Jacqueline, hi, Lillian, hi, Ebony, hi, Kelly, hi, She, hi, 80s. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Giovanna. Hi. Oh, the names are going so fast. Renee, Patricia, Robin, Lillian, Philip, Blue, Ashonda, Renee, Michael, Carlet, Quinn, Chevelle. Hi, guys. Okay, so I just want to make sure. Hi, Desire. Hi, Baby Cakes. I miss you already. So I just want to make sure that everybody can hear, because listen, this is a very important discussion. This right here is going to be everything that you possibly need. Okay, so understand something. You're dealing with somebody, for those of you guys that are not aware of who it is that's on the line, again, her name is Kayla. For those of you guys who just tuned in, her name is Kayla. She is a pathologist assistant. So I will let her explain to you exactly what she does and her credentials. Her credentials have been 100% checked out by Fact Check TV. So let's just back up really quick. Kayla, can you please describe to the people what it is that you do?
Okay, so pretty much my responsibility as it pertains to anatomy and disease and investigation on that level is to dissect organs to search for abnormalities, whether it be cancer, benign entities, or just for gross examination. So pretty much every organ that comes out of the body during surgery is sent to my lab, and I'm responsible for finding out what's wrong with it. Like if it has cancer, how many cancers, what the cancer looks like. My job is to describe that, and it goes into a report, and to sample that organ or tumor really well, and then those tissues and samples that I submit goes through a processing machine, and in return that stuff is then sliced into thinner sections and put on a microscopic slide for the pathologist to read. So pretty much the information that I submit is what the doctor bases their diagnosis off of. And I'm also trained in doing adult autopsies as well as fetal autopsies. So, I kind of see everything from under the sun as it pertains to organs, limbs, all of that stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I know people who are still saying Kayla, if you have anything on that's pertaining to the Facebook page, you can, if you turn it off, they won't get an echo.
The Facebook page? No, let's see, maybe I should close this. Let's see. Do you still hear an echo?
For everybody that's in the room, can you please tell me if you can hear Kayla okay, or if you're still getting an echo? Go ahead and say something,
Hello,
Kayla.
can you hear me? Hello.
And
We can hear you on a panel. Yeah.
do you guys still hear an echo? Can you put up a 1 if you hear an echo, or 2 if it's okay?
Is it clear now?
Okay, so they're saying they have no more echo, so it's clear.
Okay, sorry about that, guys.
I apologize for the echo. Again, for those of you guys just tuning in, thank you so much for tuning into Fact Check TV. What we do here for new subscribers, basically what we are doing is we are going to go ahead and go through the autopsy report to guarantee that all of your questions are asked, all of your comments, questions, and concerns. I see a mixture of 1 and 2s. I do apologize. Oh, so I'm echoing. Give me just a second. Let me see if I can fix myself. Hold on. Hold on, guys. Let's get this sound together first because we don't need any kind of discrepancies. Can you hear me now? Hold on, wait. Can you hear me now? No? Hello?
You still have
It's
an
a little
echo.
echo.
Hold on. Give me a second.
Yeah, that's better for me. That's
Is there an echo?
no.
It's better.
So can you guys give me a 1 if you hear an echo? No echo? Echo's gone? Okay, good. Okay, good. Okay, so let's try this again. You guys know we have new guests. We always have sound issues. So again, for those of you guys that are tuning in, we have Kayla. She is a pathologist assistant. So we're going to go through and ask questions. I did see about 2.5 seconds ago, somebody said, can we get into the thymus? We will definitely discuss that as well as we will go through all of the paperwork that was shown regarding the autopsy report and any other kind of medical testing for Kenneka. Just to verify, Kayla's credentials have been 100% checked out. She is very solid. She is very professional. She understands her job. So feel free to ask the questions that you need to ask. We will try to get to everybody's questions. Just give her time to explain what it is that she needs to explain, and then we will do a Q&A with her. So go ahead, Kayla. You can go ahead and go back into your conversation. I'm sorry, honey.
Okay. Miss Nursey, were you saying something before the sound got messed up? Seemed like you were asking something.
Yeah, I did ask you. What was I saying? Let me think a minute.
Okay.
We were talking about. Oh, I was saying, is it normal when a pathologist or a medical examiner submits the final report of autopsy, if she determines, like she determined it was an accidental death due to hypothermia, is it normal for her to put one of the contributing factors is that she saw her on film staggering and walking into a freezer, or is it usually just based on the science?
Well, in terms of like, the mechanisms surrounding the death, they are supposed to look at all factors. Everything like videotapes, they're supposed to, evaluate the toxicology reports and all of that. So it's not just them looking at her body. It's supposed to be everything in full circle. So in my opinion, they only looked at a portion of what actually went down. I think more investigative measures should have been taken. I don't think, in my personal opinion, that they should have signed this case out as an accident. Maybe it should have been undetermined, until the correct information was developed. Because you just can't, that's just like me saying, okay, this person died of a heart attack without examining their heart and actually locating where the infarct is. you know, which chamber it was located, whether it was in the interventricular septum or the ventricular wall. You know what I'm saying? Or which coronary did that. Coronary artery was involved in the actual,
Right.
you know, was blocked. So it's just like they're making, you know, an assumption based on a piece of, you know, of information. They didn't actually see her walk in there. You know, they saw her in the kitchen. So it's like, how can you come to that, you know, decision like that? It's just weird to me.
So based off of the autopsy that you were able to review, what was the findings that you found?
So the findings that I found was that, number one, I do not think she died from hypothermia, and I cannot say that she died from hypothermia because I don't know what her core temperature was. We're not certain as to what the real temperature of the freezer was. They're saying that 2 hours later it was at 34 degrees Fahrenheit, but we don't actually know what it was when they actually found her. The next thing is they mentioned in the report that she had atelectasis of her lung, which is pretty much a collapsed lung.
I knew it.
So my thing is, and then they also said, if you go to the part where it's the respiratory portion of the report.
Give me just a second, Kayla. Let me bring that up for people.
If you pull up it's on page 4, and it's under respiratory system.
Okay, give me just a second to pull that up. Hold on.
Okay.
So that would be in the autopsy report that I sent you, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, let me get to that. Okay. And you said page, which one?
It's on page 4, and it's under respiratory system. That should be the first little paragraph.
Page 4. Perfect. Got it.
Okay, so if you go down to like the third, I believe it's the third sentence, and it reads, the pleural surfaces are smooth and glistening with no focal lesions. The pulmonary parenchyma is deep purple, exhibiting slight to moderate amounts of bloody fluid upon sectioning. So that right there tells you that there is edema, or those lungs are congested, okay? And then it also says that there's the right lung bilobate. So number one, when you guys had the young lady come onto the show and discuss the forensics aspect in terms of like the photos, I can't remember her name, Miss Tay, and she was mentioning that, you know, it was in her opinion that Kenneka was possibly suffocated. So I did my research on suffocation, and I also asked my doctors. So they did confirm that suffocation will lead to a collapsed lung.
Okay.
So pretty much during suffocation, you're going to have congestion and edema in your major organs. That means your lungs are going to be congested. They can collapse and undergo atelectasis. I have a hard time saying that word. Also, your heart can become congested. And you can also have a little bit of brain swelling as well. Well, I'm sorry, not brain swelling, but your heart, your lungs, and your kidney. Okay. And then also in the report towards the end, I think it was the page where they said the pathological, under pathological findings, I believe.
Yeah, the microscopic findings. Okay.
Yeah, the pathological findings. That's on page 5 towards the end, page 5 and 6. They also,
let me go to page 5.
Yeah, so page 5.
End of page 5.
So if you look under pathological findings under cold exposure, they have this Weshkin-Nevsky lesions. So pretty much what that is it's pretty much a reddish brownish like black spot that occurs in the stomach, and pretty much it's like a form of gastritis almost. And they're saying that these lesions are like a sign that she's been exposed to cold temperature. So I pretty much I did my research on this too. And from reading articles, I found out that it's not really that specific for cold temperatures. They did a study where they did a test on like 48 rats, and they pretty much put them in cold environments, and they made sure that the rats were not, you know, stressed out. And pretty much at the end of it, once they died, they evaluated their stomachs and they noticed that these lesions were not present. And so they did other studies where they put the rats in like stressed environments, and then they noticed that these lesions were there. So they were saying in this particular article that these, you know, it has been known that these lesions could be present in people that have undergone hypothermia, but not necessarily. You see what I'm saying? So they're saying that these lesions are, you know, somewhat more contributory towards like stress. So if she was in a stressful situation, this could have contributed to her having those particular black spots on her stomach. You see what I'm saying? So that's another, and in my opinion, she probably was in a stressed environment, you know, being attacked and stressed out, you know, being smothered, if that was the case. You see what I'm saying? So it makes sense that she would have those type of lesions inside of her stomach based on the articles and studies that I've read.
Okay.
So just putting that out there. And so, and then the next page, on page 6, it mentioned that she had cerebral edema. And so I was trying to figure out, okay, well, how does this relate to, you know, the smothering and all of this? You know, and looking back at the videos that you guys did with Tay, the forensic specialist, on the photos, she was saying how she, in her opinion, she felt that Kenneka was like fighting in a struggle. And in my opinion, you know, and I also asked my doctor, my pathologist, this, could you have brain swelling from getting like a concussion? So, you know, if she was fighting and somebody like, they were like hitting her, it's no telling if she was hit in the head or wherever she was hit, you know, that it will, particularly in the head, that could cause brain swelling. And just because you may have had a concussion doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to see a physical bruise on the actual outside of the face. You see what I'm saying?
Correct.
Right.
Because, you know, like football players, they get hit in the head all the time. Do they necessarily have bleeding coming from their skull or whatever? No, but once you do the x-rays, you can actually see where the concussion is, you know, that could lead to brain swelling. So that's my, you know, opinion on that. And as far as the bilobate right lobe, in my opinion, I don't think that, you know, these people came and took her middle lobe out, because what would be the purposes of them, you know, stealing or getting her middle lobe? That's not going to help somebody that needs a lung. You see what I'm saying? Like, you can't just, you know, it does not make any sense. So I asked my doctor, you know, why does she only have 2 lobes? And so she pretty much said that there are certain congenital anomalies where you're going to have an agenesis of a lobe, particularly on the right side, you have 3. And in her case, they said that the middle lobe was missing. Am I correct on that?
Correct.
It's the middle lobe. Right? So she has an agenesis of the middle lobe. So I did my research and looked at some articles. And there's been some known cases where, you know, individuals are missing, you know, either their upper lobe or their middle lobe on the right side. And it's an uncommon thing, but it has happened. And if you haven't been in any accidents or haven't happened to have like any type of chest x-rays for any type of illness, you won't really find these things out until you're dead, you know, until they do like an examination.
Right.
I'm not sure like what her history is. I'm not sure if her mother knew of this anomaly or not, but it's an uncommon thing, but it's not, you know, that it can't happen. So that's the explanation for that.
I don't know why I'm feeling so bad. That's just me. Do you have anything on with YouTube on it?
No, I don't.
Does anybody know?
No, I don't either. I don't know why we keep getting that. It's kind of like a voiceover, like either. I'm not sure why that happens. I hear it also.
Let me see. Let me do a sound check. Sound check, sound check. Am I still echoing everybody? Can you hear
No.
me loud and clear, or am I echoing? For everybody in the chat, do you hear an echo or am I fine?
You're fine.
You're fine
Okay.
up here.
I think what it is okay, fine. So basically, what I'm getting so far, and I want you to keep going into details, is the fact that based off of what they're saying happened to Kenneka, it's not possible that it could have happened, but it's a very high rate that what they're saying happened to her could not have happened to her, as far as just dying, just going in the freezer and just dying.
Yes, I mean it's a number of things that had to have taken place for her to have died from hypothermia. It's a lot of steps to hypothermia, and in the first bit of steps, you're gonna have frostbite on your peripheral extremities because your core body is trying to maintain its core temperature. So your core temperature, that refers to like your liver, your heart, your lungs. Those organs are trying to keep that temperature warm towards the center of your body. So the blood flow is going to constrict and it's not going to flow out to the peripheral edges of your body. So your fingertips, your nose, your earlobes, your eyelids, that stuff is going to freeze first. So if she died of hypothermia, we should have been seeing frostbite. We should have been seeing frozen earlobes. The nose should have been frozen. There should have been like cyanosis, blue color in her face. And then her lips, like her lips would have not have been that edematous and swollen. It would have not been like that. It would have not been like that. Just think when, as a living person, when you go out in the cold weather, your lips, you know what I'm saying? We get the chapped lips, it's shriveled, Her lips were not like that. Her lips
So
are.
I have a question. Oh, I think that's what it is. So you'll probably, yeah, she'll have to go on mute when I'm talking. So one of my questions that I have for you is this. I know that we briefly spoke on the time and death, and I really kind of want to clarify that. So based on your professional experience, it's very rare, even in a situation where somebody is found in a freezer, that there is not a time of death. Is that correct?
Yes, according to what my pathologist said, there should have been a time of death, especially when you're dealing with a case where you're saying somebody died of hypothermia, because there are calculations that need to have been made. Like, okay, well, what's the time? Like, what is the temperature of this fridge? Like, what's her body temperature? Let's calculate, at what time she could have passed away. At what temperature was her body during that specific time? There are some instances where, homeless people are found dead on the street due to being frozen to death. In that instance, you can't possibly calculate, the time of death because you just won't know. But in this case, you have video surveillance. You have all these tools to kind of help them aid along into trying to figure out what's going on. And in my opinion, I don't think that they really tried to figure that stuff out. I mean, the crime scene investigation should have been there to do their part. I think this whole thing, as you guys mentioned numerous amounts of times, was just not handled correctly at all.
I think this just, and for those of you guys that are listening, I think this just really saddens me. And I think the biggest factor is this. Listen, on Fact Check TV, we try our best to bring in professionals who can give you the questions that you need answered. We can come on here all the time and give a hypothetical as not being a professional, but when I hear the type of things that you're saying, it's kind of like a slap in the face. Like, I feel like what happened was they went in and they did whatever they needed to do, to paperwork, not expecting for people to really dig into the shit that they put on the paperwork. And excuse my language, but it's really like a slap in the face. Like, it's kind of like, damn, like, how did you think this would slip through the crack? I think that's one of my biggest concerns. And I really, I know I see a lot of people in the chat who have posted about just speak to the thymus really quick? Can you please educate people on the thymus? Because I know that you deal with organs, and I know there's a
Yeah.
lot of rumors going on around that it's an organ harvesting situation. Can you kind of speak to that for a second?
Yes. And this information that I'm giving you guys, these pieces of information are coming from like my textbook that I used when I was in grad school, and the articles that I'm getting are online PubMed. So this is not just something that I'm coming up with, just to put that out there. But yes, I will go into the thymus gland, and this is information that's coming straight out of my pathology of diseases textbook from grad school. So pretty much with the thymus gland. So at birth, the thymus gland is going to be very, very large in size, because this organ is what's needed to generate and maintain your immunity. And so at a young age, it's going to be really, really big. It's going to be about 10 to 35 grams. Okay, this organ is like responsible for making your epithelial cells, your macrophages, dendritic cells, all these cells that are important for immunity. Okay, so that's why it's so large at birth. Once you reach puberty, and it's variable at what age, but once an individual has gone through puberty, this particular organ will start to decrease in size. And it's pretty much going to turn into like fibrous, like fatty tissue. The only way as an adult that you will have a prominent thymus gland is if you have a condition, a disorder of your thymus gland. So if you have some type of thymic hyperplasia or some type of thymoma, normally individuals that have myasthenia gravis, their thymus glands are prominent and they're very large. But if you're a healthy individual as an adult, it'll be fatty around that area. I spoke with my pathologist and asked her, does she even mention it in a report? And she says no, because it's just like fibrous fatty tissue. So they don't even mention it.
Which is why they thymus unidentified.
Yes, ma'am. So.
If I don't know, Jasmine, did you get the opportunity? And I think you did say that you received it. Did you get the opportunity to see the actual microscopic? Yeah, I guess you did, because you mentioned the collapsed lung. So there were three findings. I think there was something with the it was, from what I read, it was focal. It was something with the kidneys, like an acute kidney condition from the microscopic slides. There was the lung, and there was a third thing. The kidney, the lung.
It was so basically what the report stated was there was a section of the bilateral lung shows congestion, patchy, atelectasis. Did I say that right?
Yes, close enough.
Okay, close enough. So that basically means that her lung collapsed.
Right.
Okay. And then the second thing that it says is section of the heart shows congestion. What does that mean?
Right. That's what she was just talking about. She said that basically there's a possibility, and that's what I wanted her to speak on, from what Tay said, when you are smothered, that's another indication of a congestion in the heart. And then after that, read the third thing, Jasmine, please.
It says section of bilateral kidney shows focal tubercular autolysis.
I think it's focal tubular autolysis. Yeah.
Autolysis.
Yes.
Do we know what that means?
Because I don't have that part.
The document that I just sent you, that we sent you.
That's what that is. Spell that last word you said.
Autolysis.
Oh, autolysis.
Oh,
and they said that was where? In which organ was that?
Sections of the bilateral kidney.
Oh, so autolysis is basically when the tissue starts to, like, I don't want to say decay, but it starts to like become softened. You know what I'm saying? So the lungs and the heart go hand in hand. So if you're going to have a congested heart, you're going to have a congested lung. and then the kidneys as well. All three of those organs go hand in hand. So during like smothering,
I'm sorry. So basically what that means is the kidneys, her organs started to shut down.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you can go ahead and explain more so everybody can understand.
Yeah, so from what I've read and from what I was told, like during the smothering or any type of asphyxia, you're going to have congestion and edema, and all that stuff is going to develop into your core organs like your lungs, your heart, and your kidneys. And I read this from an article off of a forensics pathology site from the CDC. And that's pretty much common in what you're going to see in asphyxia cases. So, yeah, I mean, you know, pretty much your heart is going to fail. You know, if your heart's fail, your lung is going to fail, and then your kidneys are going to suffer with that too.
And the thing I think that bothered me, and when I saw that, because when I read the autopsy report, and I was telling them before, my father had an autopsy done, it just there are so many things that just did not ring right with me, and the way they kind of like glossed over a lot of things, and you've mentioned some of them. And then when I went on the files and I saw that that page was on the files and that was not released as a part of the autopsy that was released, I immediately started to look up those things, and I was like, oh my goodness, she had a collapsed lung. And then Jasmine, even when I showed it to Jasmine, she said, that means she had a collapsed lung. She said, that's, and I said, that is not indicative of anything that I've read about hypothermia. And so it was like right away, it's like all of these red flags. And I don't know if you discussed the toxicology report with your with your doctor, but basically I was complaining about the toxicology report because I said if they had a time frame where they saw her at the party from the videos, if they observed them, and they saw, you know, it was like a small window of time that between the time that she got there and the time that they saw her staggering down the hall. I said, and based on the blood alcohol level and the levels of the topiramate, and because the topiramate is a major contraindication with alcohol, if they would have just probably they could have probably contacted the manufacturer of it because they've done studies with it, and based on her levels, they could have told her possibly how much she took, when it was ingested, etc. Because they also said in the autopsy report they didn't see any evidence of any capsules or tablets or anything in the system, and so it's like they could have even gone by that route and reached out, in my opinion, and tried to figure out her time of death or how much was given her, what form it was, etc. So did the doctor, or did the doctor say anything, or did they see anything abnormal about the toxicology report?
Well, no, she didn't see anything abnormal when it came to like that drug. She really wasn't familiar with that drug because, like I said before, this pathologist doesn't deal with like the forensic side of it. You know, she's more like hospital pathologist, so they don't deal with like homicide deaths or things of like that. It's just natural causes. So she really didn't give me much info when it came to like, she did say the blood alcohol level was high, but in terms of like that drug, she really couldn't give much info on that aspect of it.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to ask something quick. I know that you mentioned earlier that the injuries that were listed, that they kind of go along with is obviously their ruling was hypothermia. Would the injuries that she showed, the congestion in the heart, the lungs, the kidneys, would that be also coincide with hypothermia? Really, would hypothermia have caused the congestion in the lungs, the edema, and things like that?
Well, hypothermia is pretty much going to cause, so the person is going to succumb to hypothermia because the cold temperatures and all of that is going to eventually cause the heart to undergo like arrhythmias. So your heart is going to start beating abnormality, and eventually it's going to stop beating. You know what I'm saying? And I think everything else will then, you know, shut down once the heart shuts down. In terms of how the body will present, like how the organs are going to look, from what I was told by someone that does autopsies for forensics, is that the organs are going to pretty much look normal.
Right.
Unless the tissue is actually frozen. So in order for the actual organs to be frozen, that means that core temperature has to get down to like around like 20 something odd degrees Celsius. So if that person core temperature drops down that low, then when you cut the person open and do the autopsy, you'll actually see that organ being frozen. But if the temperature does not drop below like 34 degrees, you're not going to see the organs being frozen. Thus, the organs will look normal. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I'm saying like her autopsy findings to me was not consistent with hypothermia just by looking at the outside of her. There's no frostbitten areas, anywhere. Her pupils, they didn't even mention her pupils. Normally the pupils are dilated. From, what I read, the articles, they're dilated. It's none of that. It's like they didn't even mention that her tooth was fractured or, they didn't even mention that. So it's like they said in the report that her teeth were, I can't remember the terminology that they used, but they said that they were formed or something like that.
Now, I have a question.
Yes.
I do hear that kickback. My question is, based off of the autopsy report and the pictures that you've seen, do you think that the pictures in the autopsy correspond with each other? So based off of somebody that just walked into a freezer and died of hypothermia, does it correspond with the pictures that you see versus the autopsy report that you're looking at?
No, not at all. Not at all. Everything just seems weird to me. Like nothing matches up because, looking and sitting in on the video that was done with Tay about the pictures and things, I'm like, well, this don't look nothing like what, they put in that report. Like this, except for like they're saying like with the lividity, how it was actually on her anterior and posterior sides. On the left side, I think they said it was.
Mm-hmm.
Her body was kind of like laying, on that side. But I'm like, was this the real position at which she was found? That's my question, because then again, with the hypothermia thing, you normally when you get to a cold, temp, you're going to like curl up. And so I'm like, okay, well, you would expect to see someone in a fetal like position, like curled up, if they're exposed to like extreme cold. And I'm like, well, why was she laying like that? But to answer your question, no, I don't think that the photos match with the report. Exactly.
And I do see a question that somebody would like me to ask. How long does it take for the body to thaw out? Were you able to ask that question?
I asked that question, but my pathologist didn't really know the answer to that. But she did say that a body, okay, so they're saying that she walked in the kitchen around 3 something and she was found 21 hours later. It's going to take way longer, for her body to have unthawed. Just from doing leg amputations, and a leg is not nearly as big as, a body. And we have to freeze those in the morgue. And whenever I have to go back to that, I have to pretty much let that unthaw for like 6 hours before I can do anything with it. And that's just one leg. You see what I'm saying? So in my opinion, it would take way longer for them to have, unthawed her body. Because in the report, they're saying that when they got to her, her body was cold. They didn't say it was frozen.
And there's a couple of people in the comment box who are asking, can you please go back to what it is that you said about the teeth?
Yeah, like looking from like through the pictures that you all showed a couple weeks back with Tay, and she mentioned how the tooth looked like it was yeah, like something happened with the tooth. It just didn't look symmetrical. And so my question was that in the actual report, when they went over her systems and they were talking about, everything, I can't remember what page that's on. Jesus. Yeah, I can't remember what page of the autopsy report that's on, but they didn't say anything in relation to her teeth being like broken or whatever. But that tooth does not look right. The one that Tay pointed out, because when I looked at it, I was like, yeah, something is not right with that, and I was wondering why they did not mention that in the report.
Now,
yeah, they said the teeth are natural and in good repair. That's on page 2 up at the top.
Right. That's exactly what they said. Now, here's my question, because listen, there's a lot of debate going on YouTube and social media regarding the organ harvesting situation. And I would just really like to take a minute to just educate everybody who's speaking on the organ harvesting, and there's a possibility that her organs were gone. Is opinion about this being a organ harvesting situation?
Okay, so in terms of Kenneka's situation, I don't know what the actual intent was, when with whomever did this to this young lady. I'm not sure what the intentions were, because I don't know these individuals. I'm only dealing with like the autopsy stuff and what I've seen on you guys' channel thus far. In my opinion, that could have not been done, because first of all, you want to keep the body warm. Like you cannot, cut this child's body open that's she's been sitting there dead for God knows how long. See what I'm saying? It just makes no sense. And if they were going to do that, in my opinion, it would seem that she would have gotten like kidnapped and then taken somewhere. And you know what I'm saying? But for them to do all this to this girl, leave her there, and then she's found. If they were really trying to like organ harvest her organs and all of that, I don't believe that she would have been found in that hotel. She would have probably been taken somewhere, done what they needed to do with her, and then maybe found. But in my opinion, the thymus wasn't taken for organ harvesting. The middle lobe was not taken for organ harvesting. It makes no sense. Why would you want a thymus? Is no good, especially at her age. It means nothing to someone else. Like, why would you need an organ, a thymus transplanted at her age when it's just going to be fibrous fatty tissue? Makes no sense. And then with the middle lobe, normally people are going to get like a whole lung transplanted, not a piece of a lung. So it just makes no sense.
Now there's a question that popped up in the chat, and the question is, do they have to be truthful on this report, or can they put out a fake one because they want to see if more info will come out from the people talking?
Well, I mean, I should hope that they would not put out a fake report. Because I mean, everybody undergoes an oath, especially the doctors. They undergo an oath. So I would hope that their professionalism, they would not do something like that, But with my experiences in working, or I won't say like, because I didn't have a job there, but I actually trained at a medical examiner's office. And when I was trained there, I did see the police officers or detectives. They would come in during an autopsy, and they would often try to lead the pathologist to sign out a case how they wanted it signed out.
Really?
Like they went in there, were like, oh, is it a homicide or whatever, because that's what we're thinking it is, and they're kind of like waiting there, trying to like, push their opinion on how it's going to be signed out. I did have experiences with that as a student during my training.
That I think, I don't even know what to say about that. So I think it's just really sad. Now, here's a question that I have for you. Based off of the autopsy report, how can I word this question? When it comes to DNA, is the DNA provided in the autopsy report? So basically, I'm trying to understand the different semens that were found in Kenneka's body. Is that something that would have been on the autopsy report? Is that something that would have been excluded from the autopsy report? Because I don't see anything about DNA or semen involved in any of these reports. Is that something that should have been included?
You know, I'm really not sure because with this case, they didn't even look at it like it was some type of rape type of case thing. They should have, you know, done swabs and all of that. And I guess the information from that would have been collected from the police department. I guess I don't know where that evidence would have gone, but somewhere it should have been documented if, you know, that were the case, if she was, you know, assaulted sexually, somewhere in a report it should have been documented, you know. But I don't think in this case, I don't see anything about them taking samples or anything of that nature. In my opinion, I think the samples should have been taken, but they did not do that. But that's a good question that I could ask my doctors.
So, based off of your professional opinion, if there was DNA taken, it would have been included in the DNA report. Just
Yes,
natural.
that's something that cannot be left off. All that evidence has to be just like the video surveillance. You know what I'm saying? Like they're looking at that. They put a statement in there about the video surveillance and how they saw her walking in the kitchen. So any environmental things that are, you know, could be an aid in helping to figure out how this kid died has to be, you know, considered and documented. Everything has to be documented in the report.
Right. So, and I think that was one of my biggest questions. So I think it kind of concerned me based off of the fact that there's three different semens, or supposedly there were three different semens that were found in Kenneka's body, but there's no report stating that they even collected any type of a DNA from her. So based off of the investigations that me and my panel have done, there's a proper way to handle an investigation. There's a proper way to handle an autopsy report. And there's certain things that, my personal opinion, you could tell me if I'm right or wrong, that should have been done in this investigation. Prime example, there should have been DNA collected off of her clothing. There's no report of that. There's no DNA under her nails. There's no DNA taken off of. There's no fingerprinting. There's no documentation of any of that, which means if it's not documented, then I would assume that Rosemont Police Department did not do it at all.
That would be a good assumption. I agree 100% with that. The whole thing was just not handled properly. Had it been handled properly and those things were taken, fingerprints, swabs, the mouth, oral cavity, vaginal area, anal area, all that stuff should have been documented, should be in a report, should have been investigated. That stuff did not happen. Crime scene should have been down there doing their thing. And that's normally what's supposed to happen. They should not have even kept the entrance to the freezer door open to allow the temperature to change. Like all of that should have been closed and nothing should have been touched until the medical examiner and the CSI people got there. In just my opinion, that's just what should have happened.
Somebody said, can topiramate and alcohol at a high dosage cause you to walk like she did or climb stairs?
Well, we know that, you know, alcohol, you know, above its limit is going to cause you to have imbalance because it affects a portion of your brain. I believe it's the cerebellum portion, which kind of aids with the movement. It controls like your movement. So that's why when you get drunk, people like stagger and they can't really walk. And to paramate, I'm not really familiar with that drug. I read up on it and it says that it's you know, it's supposed to treat seizures, but I'm not sure I'm not, you know, a pharmacist, so I really couldn't really tell you verbatim like what that drug is responsible for, what the side effects of that. But like with anything, you mixing pharmaceutical or prescription drugs with alcohol is going to have some sort of effect on you. And just the alcohol itself, you know, above the limit is going to cause her to stagger through alcohol.
With topiramate, it is a major contraindication with alcohol because it can cause a lot of things, primarily in higher doses. Sometimes with alcohol, it can cause acidosis. which, if you know what that means, what that happens, and that can lead to another whole series of things. So not like some drugs they recommend that you don't take with alcohol, or that you'll get sleepy or you get sick or whatever. This is a major contraindication with it, so it's even listed you should not mix it with alcohol. But by itself, the drug um, can usually cause a little dizziness initially, a little drowsiness. And so when you add alcohol to that, they kind of just bounce off of each other, or they potentiate each other. So even if she was not used, depending on the dose that they gave her, if she was not used to taking that medication, if they would have just given her a pill with something else, she would have possibly still not been staggering like that, but she would have kind of been sleepy, drowsy. Sometimes it causes you to be a little confused, that type of thing. But even saying that, I don't, I don't think that, well, I'm pretty sure it would not cause you to just be so out of it that you walk into a freezer. It doesn't do that. So you would have been like, I'm just a little drowsy. I want to lay down. I want to sleep, and you could have staggered. But I don't think it would have caused the type of confusion that would have caused her to walk into a freezer unassisted. That's my opinion. In my opinion.
Professional opinion.
Yes, in my professional opinion.
Hello. Um, so here's my question. I'm just going to be very bold, and I'm just going to be very, very bold with the question. In your professional opinion, do you believe this was an accident?
No, I do not believe that this was an accident. I believe that this young lady was was murdered. This is in my opinion, I wasn't there, but just from the facts, like so far, I do not believe that this young lady walked herself into a freezer, did not see the little glow knob thing to press it to come out of it. You know what I'm saying? And if it was a malfunction in that freezer, why hasn't that been looked into? Like, where's the maintenance on that thing? Like, has the people come in to like make sure this thing is working properly? I know in most restaurants and things of that nature, these things have to be checked out. So if that was a malfunction, then you know what I'm saying? That should have been somewhere in a report. So I do not think that she walked in there and couldn't get herself out. I believe that she was either assaulted in there and murdered, or you know, something happened to her outside of the kitchen and she was placed in there, but I do not think that she walked in there on her own.
Now, point, what I'm going to do for everybody that's in the chat is I have put the link out for the Hangout. You're more than welcome to jump on the panel and ask a question if you'd like. I will go ahead and lay the rules down. You can jump onto the panel. Please put yourself on mute as soon as you jump on the panel. I will give you the opportunity to ask your question, get your response. If there is a need for a second question, then I will allow you to stay on. If not, I will remove you from the chat. Not being mean, just giving everybody the opportunity to jump on the chat and ask a question. So I do see that we have Keith on the panel. Hey, Keith, do you have a question? Hi, Keith, you're on mute. Do you have a question? Keith, your microphone is on mute. Do you have a question? I'm going to need you to ask the question, honey. Keith. Okay. Haley, you're on the panel. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I do. I have a question about the alcohol level. How was her alcohol level so high when it took quite some time in finding her?
Keith, can you ask the question again, please?
Question was, how was her alcohol level so high when it took quite some time in finding her? Wouldn't they have taken it down?
So basically, he is asking, once you pass away, does your alcohol level continue to decrease? So why was her alcohol so high if she supposedly died, say a few hours after being in the freezer? And so he's asking you to address after you die, does that affect the alcohol level, or does it continue the body, or does it continue to decrease? I'll let you answer that. I think I know the answer, but I'll let you answer
Thank
it.
you for clarifying that.
Yeah, that's out of my expertise. I'm sorry. I deal mainly with like the organs and stuff. I don't know anything when it comes to like the blood alcohol levels and how that, contributes to after somebody dies, so.
Got it. Thank you. That was my only question.
Thank you so much, Keith. Nursey, do you want to answer that question?
Okay, I would have to do research, but as I recall, and so don't quote me on this. When you die, you die. Your body, you start to metabolize things as when you're alive. Your body, will metabolize, and your alcohol levels will drop after so long. Most people think if you drink coffee or something like that, it'll help you become sober. No, your alcohol level has to drop over a period of time. So what happens is that you're more alert, but it doesn't lower your alcohol level. So I'm thinking once you die, all of that stops. And so whatever your levels are when you die, those are your levels. So your body does not continue to metabolize anything once you die, once the organs shut down.
So somebody sent a response to Keith's question, and Maria said, no, he's saying, does it, I'm sorry, Maria said, no, he is saying since it took them so long to find her, all levels still high. So considering the fact on based off of when they found her body, was it normal that her alcohol level was still high at that time?
Yes, her alcohol level would be the level that it was at the time that she died. So, in other words, whenever she stopped breathing, that was her alcohol level. It doesn't continue to decrease, as far as I know. No, now it will move in the body. If you notice on the autopsy report, they took the levels from the blood. I think they also take levels from behind the eye or something like that. And there's a couple places that they take the levels to determine it. And I'll ask Kayla to maybe address that. But the levels, your body doesn't continue to metabolize the alcohol once you're dead.
Yeah, Miss Nursey, yeah, they do take it from the vitreous fluid behind the eye, and then they actually do take it from the peripheral blood to examine that.
Right.
So basically, at the time you die, whatever your alcohol level was at that very moment, that's what's going to calculate for the autopsy report.
That is what I
Yeah.
understand. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. The second question that I see, and I will get to you in just a second, Mister. The second question from Illuminati Light is: would she have saliva in her mouth if she was frozen?
Saliva in her mouth when she was
Fresh saliva.
um you know I was gonna say no, but I would have to do research on that. Now, as far as her being strangled or something like that, yeah, she would have mucus in her mouth and things of that nature. But as far as for the hypothermia, no. I'm gonna say no, but that's a good question I could ask my pathologist.
Okay, perfect. Mister, you have a question? Welcome to the panel, Mister. You're on mute, so you can take your microphone off of mute and ask the question or your comment or concern. Go ahead.
How y'all doing, everybody in the chat? I've been paying attention to this case for a long time since I first went on YouTube, and then I seen it. I came across it, stumbled upon it, and I've been following every single YouTuber, and everything like that, and just basically, just chiming in, looking at different things and stuff like that. But I just got a question because inside of the freezer when they had her pictures or whatever, and the little black stuff that was on the on the floor. What did they ever say that was? What was that?
So when the crime scene
The little
analyst,
black particles that was on the floor, that was kind of rubbery looking. It
well,
looked
when the crime scene
yes.
analyst reviewed the picture, she actually advised us that that was mold.
See, that's why I got a problem, because she's an expert at what she does, and I'm not gonna try to go against what she's saying. But I don't think everything was mold. I think I saw mold, but I don't think that was mold, only because it just looked like tape. And the reason why I say it looked like tape, like it looked like tape that was melted or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I can sound crazy for saying it, but if you pay attention to all the pictures, like over top of one of the electrical panels, it was a thing of tape, and it was in a circle, and it was black. And I was like, damn. First, somebody saw the trash bag tied around the pole. Then somebody saw the tape. I'm like, why would they have tape? And then on her fingers, you know what I'm saying? Like her fingernail, they had that little black thing. I think that was tape. I don't know what else that could have been. I think it was tape. If it wasn't a trash bag, I think it was some type of tape. And I don't know if it was like when those people that came in with the stretcher, where they had all the equipment on the stretcher, I think they was doing something as far as they was removing something or they was putting in something.
Right.
Because they're not a team of nothing. Like you can tell they was like engineers. Like the stuff they had and the things that they was doing, they was engineers. They didn't have gloves on or nothing. They was installing so, they probably was unhooking that camera. I don't know. The
Well,
way
I'm
the
gonna tell you
cameras look.
something.
I'm sorry. I
I'm
just
gonna
want to
tell,
say this last thing. I'm sorry.
no,
The way
you're
the
okay.
cameras look like they was plugged into like an outlet. I don't know if anybody got like a good picture of the camera,
Mm-hmm.
but it looked like they got two cords on them and one of them plugged into an outlet. And if you look by the freezer, it's an outlet just sitting right there at the corner of the freezer. It's like, why is it an outlet up there? And it looked like man, I don't know. I may be overanalyzing it, but it spooked me out, man. All that stuff, man, it really spooked me out, because that's wild. Like, that everybody that's on air is saying that's a murder, and you ain't got nobody saying, like, from like an activist all the way to the police and that whole part of Chicago. No celebrity talking about it. Not nobody really like chiming in, only YouTube. So that make you
Well,
think what's really going on. I don't know.
well, I will say this first, going back to what you just said about a minute ago. First of all, there's nothing that you can say that sounds crazy when it comes to the Kenneka Jenkins case. So let's just say that. So everything that you're saying, to me, it makes perfect sense. Um, is we want to hear everybody's opinion and we want to be able to fact check it. So at this time, I think what you said is a very, very valid response. The second thing, as far as people not speaking up, I think that the problem is, I personally went to DC for the protest. Um, and one of the biggest issues that we had when we hit DC was the fact that it's a lot of people who are not aware of the Kenneka Jenkins case. So there was a civil activist attorney who approached us, who advised us the worst thing you could possibly do is protest in Chicago. You're protesting in front of a bunch of people who are corrupt. So your best thing to do would be to remove the case from Chicago and to voice your opinion outside of Chicago, because you're basically talking to the people who don't give a damn. So this is one reason why you might not be getting a lot of activists or, people that are a part of the political party to step up. So our plot and our plan is to be able to dig through the information and provide it to people outside of Chicago. So, and this is not to downplay Chicago by any means, but I'm gonna be honest with you, Chicago is like a black hole to me. Like if I was the mother, I wouldn't want anybody from Chicago to deal with the case. I would want to reach out to somebody outside of the state to dig into this case, to be able to deal with it and find out what's going on. As far as the tape or black mold, I do understand what you're saying. All we can do at this point is speculate exactly what it was, because nobody even documented it on any of the paperwork. There's no kind of document describing black substance on right hand, left thumb, right thumb. There's no kind of documentation, which concerns me. So everything we do here is to point out the mistakes and the error that they made. And that's one of the errors that they made. If they would have documented correctly, then we would know exactly what the substance was. If it was a substance or an object or a tape or a mold, we would know. So what you're getting is you're getting people to give their opinion based off of only paperwork and opinions, because they weren't there to be able to analyze exactly what it is that was on her or happening to her, if that makes any sense.
No, I understand exactly what you're saying. If I could just say one last thing, it's not gonna be long.
Absolutely.
The like when the cop first came in, and then he like he was shown by the guy that worked there when he was shown where the body was, and then that's when he came back out, and then he was attempting to go back in, but then it's like the guy started to follow him, and it's like he didn't want him to come with him, so then he just walked out with him. So once he walked out with him, he came back by himself, and then he started doing all that mess back there. It's like, why he come by himself? Why he didn't come with everybody? Why he go by himself? You know what I'm saying? That it's like maybe some of them cops wasn't aware of what was going on. Maybe they wasn't supposed to know, so they could look like, I don't know. It just, the whole thing, man, from the tapes, the lives, man, that's terrible, man. I'm telling you,
Yeah,
it's too terrible.
absolutely. And that's why we're here. We're here to be able to
make it
call
scary
out the
because
fraud.
it lets you know what the system like now. The system is just basically like, look, this is a perfect example of New World Order. That's just what I said.
I agree with you 100%. We have somebody else who just entered the panel. Haley. Hi, Haley. Do you have a question? Haley, you're on mute. If you can take your phone off of mute, we'll be able to hear your question. Okay, Haley, I'll come back to you. Hi, Smooth. You just jumped on the panel. Do you have a question?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can hear you, honey.
Okay, I have two questions. My first one is, what exactly did they say about her hair? Because it looked obviously sewed in to everyone in the, the videos and stuff. And then obviously in the photos that were taken, it looked just like a wig was thrown on there or something. So I'm wondering what the report said about it.
Well, the report said that she had a weave, I'm thinking that's how they worded, a weave sewn onto her scalp. So from the report, it says a long black weave is attached to the natural black scalp hair, which is braided. So, I mean, it seems as though she still had the sew in.
From your opinion, is that what it looked like to you?
From the report, it looks like they're saying that she had a sew in. But, from looking at the pictures that were shown, that their hair didn't look right. It looked as though it was a wig, but if you're going to follow the report is saying that it was a sew-in.
Right, but you agree, according to the photos, it looks like a wig to you too?
Yeah, it looks like a wig. It doesn't look right.
I agree. Okay, my second question is, when Miss Tay was going over the photos with us, she mentioned damage to her feet, like something very heavy had been dropped on them or something. What did they say about her feet as far as bones being damaged or crushed or something like that?
They said no type of bones or anything was broken. None of that. They didn't mention
So they
any
didn't even mention
crack.
her feet.
No, they did not mention. Only thing they mentioned was like the bruises and the abrasions that were noted on her right ankle and her right leg. As far as like any broken bones, none of that. I don't even know if they actually took an X-ray of this young lady. I mean, I'm assuming that they did, but they did not note any broken bones.
Wow. Okay, those are my questions. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, honey. I see Ashad is on the panel. Ashad, do you have a question?
Yeah, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah, I was just wondering, is it required for the medical examiner to record the conversation of the autopsy or videotape it or anything like that?
Well, normally, when they're dictating their findings, some of them will dictate what they're finding, because as the autopsy tech takes out the organs, the doctor is actually sectioning through trying to figure out what's going on. So some of them will actually have a recorder and record their findings. As far as them videotaping, the whole thing, I'm not sure. Maybe that would be specific for, whatever medical examiner you're working with. But it's not uncommon to record, your notes and things that you're going to actually put in the report.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, because it's all public record. Why wasn't that released if the medical examiner isn't hiding anything during the autopsy? Because that's where we seem to find all the discrepancies is at the autopsy.
Yeah, you got a point. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to ask, though. Thank you.
You're welcome, hon.
Kayla, when you get an opportunity, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, when you get an opportunity, because I don't think a lot of people really know, or maybe some do, what actually happens in an autopsy.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people may not understand that when you actually do an autopsy, that the organs are removed, examined, and then put back
Yes,
before
ma'am.
it's sent to the funeral home. So
Mm-hmm.
can you kind of go over the details of what happens, like from the time that a body first arrives there, and
Okay.
what the procedure is?
Yes, ma'am. Sure. So, typically what happens is that the medical examiner will be in there, and she or he will have their assistant that will actually do the evisceration for them. So they do an external examination. They take the temperature. They'll take all the fluids from the vitreous fluid. They'll do the urine. They'll also take the peripheral blood. And then, they examine the pupils, they examine the skin, they look for any types of external abrasions or scrapes or scratches. Then they take off the clothes, and then they start the Y excision, and then they do the evisceration. From that point at which they do the evisceration, the forensic pathologist will section through every single organ to look for any types of abnormalities, and they'll make note of that. Once that is done, the tissue that they sample, clean that off so that it can get processed to be put on the slide so that they can look at the microscopic sections of what they actually sample. They will then send the fluids that they collect, the peripheral blood, the vitreous fluid, the urine from the bladder. They will send that for toxicology, and that takes a little longer to come back than the other things. And then once that's done, they will then put the organs in a bag, and they will place the organs into the person's body cavity. They will sew it back up, and the body will get put in the big fridge in the back, and then later sent to the funeral. So yeah, they do not keep the organs. Those organs will go back with that person's body. Same thing with the brain. They'll take the brain out, they'll section through the brain, and all that stuff will go back in as well.
Thank you so much for answering that question. Let me try to dig through, because I don't know if everybody's comfortable with jumping on to the panel. Let me try to cipher through some of the questions. Bella said, I just need to know why her time of death was 0048. So that means they reported her death on site, but you can do autopsy to find exact or close time of death. Bella, the time that you're providing was actually not a time of death. That would be so 0048 would possibly been the time that they were trying to say that they found the body, but the only person who can identify a time of death would be the coroner. Is that correct, Foxy?
Yes, ma'am.
So basically, if the police came to the scene, the police cannot give a time of death. The only person that can give a time of death, again, like I said, would be the coroner. If the time of death is not in the report, they did not give a time of death. Correct?
Yes, there's no time of death written anywhere in this report.
Okay. And Haley, you're back on the line. Do you have a question that you would like to ask?
Yes, actually, I have wrote the question in the chat instead.
Okay. Did I read the question?
No.
Okay, you want to go ahead and ask it?
Okay, so I've been watching theories about this, and there have been pictures of a man who has had a black garbage bag, and on the same exact day as basically the death, I should say, and there was pictures leaked, and there was black trash bags on her nails and part of her feet, and I'm concerned that how come I didn't hear any of that on the news or any of the not theories, but like parts of what I've been reading.
So basically, are you asking how come that wasn't notated in any of the reports?
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody want to answer that question?
So I'm just like with anything, in my opinion, they just left a whole lot of stuff out. I mean, the things that they should have sampled, that black stuff that everybody's trying to figure out what it is, they should have took samples of that. They should have done a lot of things that they did not do. So the question is just like, why didn't they do any of the things that they were supposed to do to undergo a proper investigation? So, I'm sorry, but I don't know why, but they just did not do a good job at this case in terms of like the police investigation, the medical examiners, the hotel, everybody just failed, in my opinion.
So basically, like we've been saying, it's a cover-up for a cover-up for a cover-up.
Yep.
Does anybody else have any more questions that they would like to ask the pathologist regarding the autopsy report? Please feel free to ask your questions or jump on the panel. The panel is open. The link is out. You're more than welcome at this time. Please jump on the panel and just get it out. Listen, everybody. One of the main issues that we are having with the Kenneka Jenkins case is everybody has 1,001 questions. There's 1,001 theories going around. There's 1,001 things being said about what happened to her, what didn't happen to her. This is the best time for you to ask your questions as long as it's pertaining to the autopsy report. Robert said, can this case be reopened? That's what we're trying to do right now, Robert. So by us reaching out to people with the professional experience, our motive is to find the flaws and get the case back opened. That is the only thing that we are trying to do here on Fact Check TV. We are not here to discuss things that we saw on Facebook, things that we saw on social media. The only thing we're here to do is dig through the case file. Everything else, we are not here to discuss hypotheticals. We are only here to dig through the paperwork and find out why it is that certain things were not notated, documented, handled appropriately. That's all we do here. I do see that Mr. is back on the line. Do you have another question, sir?
Yes, this is for for the analyst lady. I'm sorry I didn't get your name.
Her name's Kayla.
Hey Kayla, how you doing? Question for you as far as the hair that they found like near her, like it was near her shoes and stuff like that. Like it was hair down there, like it was like hair. Do you think that, like, what do you think that hair actually came from? Like if it, like it couldn't possibly came from her hair to end up on her shoe or like near her shoe. So what do you think that hair came from? Like, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I'm going to reiterate this. I wasn't there, but my personal opinion, especially from looking at the presentation that Tay gave, when she did her analysis of it, she was saying that it was like of a shorter strand, which wouldn't possibly be consistent with Kenneka's extensions. So, from that, I would believe that it probably would come from someone else, not Kenneka's.
But because
and then I guess the last question would be like, this is for Jazz. I got a question for you, like, as far as, I know what you was explaining, what we're not going to talk about. This is just the last thing. As far as them saying that there was a way to enter the kitchen through the bathroom, through the female's bathroom, I could have sworn I remember them saying, like, once in the case that there was a way to enter the kitchen was through the female's bathroom. Because I'm just saying, on two parts where the security actually walks in the female's bathroom, like on purpose, he walked in the female's bathroom, even though it may have looked like something. And also when the girl Shamaya walked in with her hand in her sleeve, and you could see her shirt dangling. So what was she having there? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I think something happened in the female's bathroom where hair actually got on her. That's why I think. Now, my opinion.
Now, I don't know anything. Now, let me just correct that. My bell. Ding, 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 my opinion. So I don't think now. No, let me get my alarm. Fact. I don't know anything about an entrance from the woman's bathroom. Now, what I said was, if you think back to the video where Kenneka came down the hallway, and there was the stair rail. Shortly after Kenneka came through that hallway, Ty, Pease, Red Hat guy, which I'm still trying to identify, Shamaya and Monifa came down the stairs and continued straight. When you continue straight from down those stairs, there's an entrance into the kitchen. So I don't know anything about a woman's bathroom and an entrance to the kitchen, but I personally feel that they went into the kitchen when they came straight down the stairs and went straight directly in front of them, which would meet in between from where Kenneka came through and from where they came through. I haven't heard about an entrance into the kitchen from the woman's bathroom.
I just remember it from back then. I guess it could have been overlooked. But I think the main part that was unlooked is the girl going in the bathroom with her hand in her sleeve. Because the whole day she wasn't like that. But when she came down the hall, she looked at all those cameras. Then she walked in the female's bathroom with her hand in her sleeve, and her shirt was dangling. Like, was there some keys given to let her get into that? Who knows, man? I don't know, because every camera, they have somebody coming past, and then all of a sudden they're coming right past. They walking past, and they're coming right back. They walking past. So it's like, it's edited. I feel like the truth isn't inside of the videos at all. Like that we're looking. And I don't think the truth is. I think they took the truth out of that video. I just think that's just what they did out of all the videos. And they just edited to make it look like all of this stuff is happening.
Well, that's our fight right now. The fight is that there's an hour and a half worth of footage missing from Kenneka coming up missing. The reality is that there's 2 text messages that show that Kenneka 2 a.m. in the morning. So from 2 to 3:25, where was she at? How come we don't see her on any footage? And yeah, I agree with you 100%. I recall the video that you're talking about where Shamaya's hands were covered. Why were you covering your hands? How come you didn't want your fingerprints on the door? The only thing that I'm saying is I believe that Shamaya walked into that bathroom. For what reason, I don't know, because it was so quick you couldn't use the bathroom. You came out, you met up, you hit the corner and met up with Ty and them in the kitchen area. So that's the only thing I'm saying to you. So when they came down the stairs, they went directly into the kitchen. Shamaya cut off and went into the bathroom. I don't feel comfortable with her having her hands covered either. I doubt it was cold. I doubt that you were freezing. So what was the reason that you had your hands covered up that way? That's a big question. But the only way that we're going to get the missing footage is to call them out on the hour and a half worth of footage that we know is missing.
Do you think the kitchens like all are connected? I think all of the kitchens are connected just from the Google Map view of the roof. It looks like all of those condenser fans are near each other. And the hotel has its own, it has its own stuff on their top roof. But as far as that Chicago grill area and everything like that lobby, it's like on that rooftop version, all of those are condenser fans and that shows that all of the kitchens are connected. That's why there's so many freezers. I feel like that's why there's so many views and so many angles, because all the kitchens are connected. How the police and everybody was going through different rooms and stuff like that. It's all connected from that dock, I believe. I don't know.
Here's the problem. Kenneka was found her body was found in the upper kitchen. Not the lower kitchen, the upper kitchen. So at one point, when you're looking at the video, she's in the lower kitchen. Kenneka's body was found in the upper kitchen. So it's very deceitful when you're looking at the videos. However, when you see Kenneka walk down the hallway, and then the next video you see she's coming through a kitchen, and then the next video you see she's walking into a freezer, those are not all the same slots. At some point, when Kenneka came down the hallway and you see her grab the rail, and then you see her walk into that main kitchen area where supposedly everybody saw the blue guy, and then you see the next shot of her going in the freezer, that's a completely different kitchen. Those kitchens are not connected together because they're on two totally different levels. So that's one of our main questions. How did she get from the lower kitchen to the upper kitchen in, what is it, Nursey, 7 minutes? 7 minutes.
Well, it's actually the whole thing took 7 minutes. How does she get from the lower kitchen to the upper kitchen in less than 2 minutes?
There you go. So that's the question.
Yeah, Mm-hmm.
You remember when Kenneka came in with all the girls, with the 3 girls she came in with in the very beginning? When she walked through and then she made that right. Why did she make that right? Was they about to get on the elevator or something? What made her make that right? That's why I just got a question. I'm not trying to go back into that and everything like that, but I just got a question, because if she texts the girl, I think I know which one of the text messages you was talking about is when it was like she was like, I'm ready to go. That was at like what they said, it was like 1:30 or something like that.
1:26.
So what time did she get there? Wasn't it like 1:07 when she got there?
She arrived at the party at 1:13. At 1:26, she sent a text message saying
exactly. So she made that right. Did she make that right because she saw somebody? She might have saw ops on the elevator, or she saw them and was like, I'm not going that way. And they probably like, she probably was like, I'm ready to go. Like soon as she saw them, or maybe when she was in the party, she saw them and was like, I'm ready to go.
Absolutely.
Like
Absolutely. That's what we believe. Clay, can you please do me a favor and take over and look at the chat and ask questions regarding I know I see a couple of people saying, can you ask some questions regarding the autopsy?
Yeah,
I have to do something really quick, so can you just take over, ask the questions for Fox? I'll get back to you guys shortly.
Yes, ma'am. I sure can.
Clay, can you hear me or not?
Yes, Chris, I can hear you. I'm gonna need you to mute though, because you was just staticking all while they was talking.
Because they keep on asking this in the chat over and over, and they want to ask Kayla if it's protocol for them to mention her menstrual in the menstrual cycle.
Mention her menstrual cycle? Well, I mean, they would, when going through the genital urinary system, they would have had to section through her uterus. And if they found some evidence of blood or whatever, they would have mentioned that in the report. I don't know if they would have termed it her menstrual cycle was on, or you know what I'm saying, because the ovaries are swollen, during your menses, and certain structures within the ovaries will, alert the pathologist to know that if the person is menstruating. So, they would have been descriptive on their findings, but I'm not certain if they would have just put it plain and simple, like she was menstruating.
All right, did whoever asked that question, did that answer your question? Okay. Y'all ain't really okay. It says Fact Check TV does the microscopic findings of the kidney correlate to her body responding to suffocation or possible assault?
So my expert opinion, I believe that the microscopic findings with the kidney, the lungs, and the heart suggest that she was suffocated.
She Slave said, if the case is reopened, will they be able to find out much from the body being that it's been this long?
So it would be very difficult, I believe, at this point to um, determine, because suffocation is very hard to detect, especially when it's like from somebody putting like a bag over your head when there's no actual um, physical thing that's being done. Like if she was strangled, you would see broken bones in her neck, or her muscles would have been bruised. Certain things like that would have occurred. She would have petechia in her eyes. Her lips would have had hemorrhages as well. But in a case where something is placed over her head like a bag, for instance, it's hard to detect that, especially after she's been like dead this long. So they would have to more so go with how the organs are going to present, or I guess look back at the microscopic sections that were taken previously from the medical examiner. So I'm not sure what the process is when they re-exhume the body, what depths they have to go to get their information. But, in my opinion, they would have to look at the whole picture, like where she was found at what time, what was the temperature inside of the freezer, all those elements to determine what actually happened to her.
Somebody said, what stage of rigor was she at, and how long does it take to be at that level?
So, trying to find that in the report. So they didn't really give a degree of lividity. And that's something that I can't determine because I wasn't there and I don't know the time of death and when she actually died. I mean, according to them, they saw her on video around like 3:22 or something, and then 21 hours later they found her body in the fridge. So these are all things that are hard to determine due to the fact that there's no time of death.
Somebody said, do you think her thymus was removed?
No, I don't. I don't actually think her thymus was removed. I think that at her being matured at that age, the thymus gland is going to get smaller in size and it's going to pretty much turn into fibrous fatty tissue. So normally the pathologist will not mention that particular organ during an autopsy because it's pretty much just fat sitting there in the neck area. So it's not really that significant to them. So most of them don't mention it. The only way they do is if there's some type of neoplasm or tumor within that organ, then they'll mention it because they'll be able to feel that nodule or whatever. So I don't think that's uncommon that it wasn't mentioned.
Okay. Somebody else said, could she have been raped and they not caught it?
Awake? You mean like awake? And what happened now?
No, they said, could she have been raped and they not caught it?
Raped and not caught it. Yeah. So I mean, because they did not do swabs, they did not do a rape kit on her. I mean, so if I'm looking at the report, in the report it says that there has been no trauma to her vaginal area and no tears or anything like that to the vaginal area or anus. So looking at the report, I mean, it seems as though there was no forced entry, into that area. But you can't really exclude if there's DNA there because, they did not do a rape kit on her. They did not collect any evidence, swab anything in that area. So I cannot say that that's not possible, you know. But from the
So
report, they said that no tears or anything were found in those areas.
I have a question. What makes you feel that there wasn't a rape kit done?
Because they don't have that in the report.
That's what I want.
Like, you
That's what
know,
I thought.
I'm just going from what they like. I have to go from what they have in the report because I wasn't there. So you see what I'm saying? So I can't assume that they're just going to leave that out, you know. So
Okay. Hello, everybody. This is Mama J.
Hey, Mama.
hi.
Hey,
Hey, Mama
everybody.
J.
Hey, I just have a question since you guys are talking about the rape issue. So, how would they be able to just automatically say by looking at her if she was or was not sexually assaulted, and not, and also how would they be able to look at her and tell or not tell if a medication in her body was taken forcibly or if she had taken it on her own?
Yeah, so they wouldn't be able to tell if she was if a pill was pushed or put in her drink. They wouldn't be able to tell that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's they wouldn't be able to know that. Only whoever gave it to Kenneka and Kenneka would know that something, you know, that happened. As far
Right.
as the forced entry, you know,
Right.
normally, you know, during like rape cases, you're gonna have some tearing around your vaginal area. There'll probably be some swelling around your anal area. Your perineum could be
Mm-hmm.
disrupted or tear or torn during the incident. So those would be things that they actually looked for in
Right.
terms of when somebody's raped.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Go ahead.
Um. Okay. Could she have been drowned and that's why her hair looks like that?
So originally, when you know before when Tay was doing her presentation, that's what I mean. I thought, and this was just like a theory of mine. I had no evidence to back this up, but I thought that something happened to her, and maybe in the restroom, and maybe her head was dunked in the toilet. Maybe that's why her, you know what I'm saying, hair was so messed up. But you know, I don't have any evidence to prove that. But I mean, I don't think she was 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 drowned. But I mean, I don't know. Like I wasn't there. But definitely that hair does look like it had been wet or something. You know what I'm saying? So I did
Mm-hmm.
have that in my mind. Like, well, maybe, you know, her head was submerged in water or maybe, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, I don't know. Like I can't make that assumption without any facts to back that up.
Okay. Somebody else said, "Can you explain Jesus? I don't know this word. Lividity. I think.
Lividity is
Yeah.
pretty much when you die, the position that you die in, the blood is pretty much going to pool to where your body is laying on that surface. So it'll be like, you know, purplish red or depending on your skin complexion, you know, mainly for African Americans, maybe like purplish, like a deep purple, and that'll tell you like at what surface that person was laying on. And it sets in after a certain amount of, you know, rigor mortis and all that sets in. I can't remember like exactly the breakdown of what hours it sets in, but it's pretty much how you're laying when you're dead. That's where the blood is going to pool to that surface that your body is laying on.
Okay. Somebody said, why would she have brain swelling?
So I was asking myself this all week, like what could contribute to the brain swelling? And so I thought about, well, you know, it was discussion on the panel and you know in the chat that she was pretty much fighting for her life. You know, you could tell that there was some type of struggle. Maybe something happened and she was hit in her head. Maybe she had a concussion. I know concussions do contribute to brain swelling. And I do know that with a concussion, you're not going to, sometimes you won't have a physical bruise or a bloody area on the outside. You know what I'm saying? It'll present like in the inside with the swelling of the brain. So I'm not sure if somebody hit her on her head or something, but this could be, you know, an explanation as to why she had the brain swelling. I didn't actually see her get hit. I'm just saying, like, this could be, in my opinion, you know, maybe she was hit in her head.
Okay. Um, why didn't they mention the ball gag? I believe somebody covering up something.
The what now? What was that?
The ball gag.
I don't know what that.
Um, Miss Anointed Jackson, can you please
Yeah.
specify what you're talking about, please?
Is everything okay?
Yeah, I don't know. I was trying to get her a minute. I'll just come back to your question when you just specify what you mean in the chat, and I will make sure your question get answered. Let me see.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything about a ball gag. I must have missed that thing. I haven't heard anything about that. But they didn't
Um,
mention that in the report or anything.
um, okay. Somebody said, "What do they mean by unremarkable in the report?"
It just pretty much means that there's no significant finding. Like there's no like uh either cancer or any injury to that particular body part. Like it's pretty much normal. You know what I'm saying? Suggesting that nothing this oh, so it's pretty much saying that, you know, like she's pretty much fine. Like this organ is fine. This organ was working properly and this organ is not the reason why she's dead. Pretty much. Unremarkable, like perfect, pretty much.
Kayla, I did have a question. We were
Yes, ma'am.
talking. If you look at the at her body, and like you said initially, when she's brought in, they look over all of the skin of the body, and if you look at her hands, okay, so on the autopsy report, they remarked on the cuts or the abrasions on her foot and things like that. But I don't recall them saying anything about her hands, and her hands were obviously, scratched or there were abrasions or scratches or there were abnormalities on her hands also. And so I find it odd that that they didn't say anything about that. And then also, can you address the claw, the way, the position in which her hand was found? Do you normally see that in bodies, or how the position her hand was found in?
Yeah, I agree with you, Miss Nursey. Like they did not mention um the state of her hand. They didn't mention how it was like irregularly shaped, how it was like she was trying to grasp something, or maybe something was in her hand. They did not mention that, and pretty much they're supposed to mention, like, make note of everything that's going on with her body, everything that's like that thing on her fingernail. Did they mention that? I don't think they mentioned that either.
No, they did.
No.
Yeah, they did not mention that. All of that stuff should have been mentioned. It just seems as though they just like just pretty much just did this whole autopsy thing really, really fast just to get it out of the way. I think it was not done properly at all. And what was your other question? Like
Yeah.
how her hand was grasped? Yeah, they didn't mention any of that, and that is strange. That is
Yeah,
very
and then
strange.
and then if you look closely on her hand, you can actually see there are like areas that look like the skin was that it was broken on her hand, and then also on the back you can see there's lividity, but then when you it should have formed on the opposite side of where she was laying if she was found that way, because the way she was laying in the door, it looks like it was her left side. But if you look at closely at her body and her back, there was like, it looks like there was bruising also on her back. So I don't know what that was all about. So to me, there were a lot of areas that they just basically just left out. The only thing they talked about was her foot, was the abrasion on her foot. Oh, and the
Yeah.
other question was
Mhm.
the bright red blood that was evident, that you saw in the picture. Um, would that be um conducive to, like, if she was in a freezer for so many hours? Because it looked like fresh blood almost. So you see
I
what I'm
know that
saying?
during suffocation, you often it's possible to have blood coming out from your ears and your nose. I do know that. So, yeah. Do
Okay.
we have that picture where the blood, you see the blood? Where was that blood like seen at? I don't remember that one.
Well, I was talking about the blood on her foot, like
Oh, on her foot.
on her foot. Yeah.
Oh, I remember that. Okay. It did look like fresh blood. Uh, it was some type of injury that was done to her foot, and they should have
Right.
mentioned that. Any blood anywhere should have been mentioned. Any scrape, scratch anywhere should have been mentioned. If lividity was on her back, that should have been mentioned. Everything that was out of place, not normal, even the normal stuff, should have been mentioned in the report.
All right, you good, Nursey?
Yes, I'm good.
Jasmine, is your panel still open?
Yes, it is.
Um, Miss Anointed Jackson, I don't know what you're referring to about the ball gag. You kind of confusing me in the chat, but you are more than welcome to hop on the panel and ask your question.
About the what?
Something about a ball gag. I don't know. Like I'm not sure what she's referring to. I'm so
Yeah, I'm not
confused.
familiar with the ball gag. So she would definitely have to get on the panel to ask that question. We've never heard anything about that.
Like um, does bone straight hair attachments curl up when wet?
Well, it depends if she had like that wet and wavy stuff. Sometimes, you can get the wet and wavy, and it'll curl. But I don't, it depends on what type of extensions those were. I mean, I know like with some straight hair, you can get a slight wave to it once it's wet. Not a real like defined wave, but like a slight wave. But, I'm not a weavologist, so
Right.
I know a little something, but I'm not a weavologist.
Um, why was her eyes closed? Somebody said.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they were like that during, the time she was being murdered or I'm not sure.
So
That
I
it,
guess
I can answer
so.
that question.
I have a question regarding that. Based off of the people who do the autopsy, would they be able to dictate if her eyes were she was killed or dead after she died?
Well, yeah, it would be hard to determine if it was forced shut. Yeah. The only thing they would be able to, make note of if her eyes were closed, and then they would have to examine her pupils and all that stuff. So they would have to like peel it back and look and see what her pupils and all that stuff looks like. So I'm not sure if they would be able to determine if they were forced shut.
Right. But for the most part, just to say, these individuals who completed this autopsy, and again, I'm going to let everybody get their questions out because this is the moment that everybody's been waiting for. But in the best way to put it is, listen, Rosemont coroner's office did not do what they were supposed to do. They did not provide a proper autopsy. There is information that is floating around about what happened to this beautiful child that people cannot even begin to speak on, because listen, you can't speak on it if it was not done. I did see a particular individual verify today that supposedly Teresa has not even seen the second autopsy. We are not aware if the second autopsy came back. We are not aware of the second autopsy results. So it's a lot of things that we as YouTubers or we as professionals would not even be aware of at this time until it's released to the public. So guys, I'm again, we only bring these type of people on with the level of professionalism that they have, so that you're able to ask the questions. Please get all of your questions out. We're probably going to give it about 30 more minutes, and we're going to go ahead and shut it down. The panel is open. You're more than welcome to jump on the panel. If you're feeling some type of way about your camera being on, you can shut your camera off, ask your question. There is no stupid questions here. We want all of your questions, any of your comments and concerns to be placed out in the open so that you can walk away feeling very confident about what you're hearing.
Oh, I did want to ask her one other thing, because there was another YouTuber who talked about an ordinance in Cook County that said basically he accused them of putting an audience in there. Ordinance, ORDINANCE.
Mute your microphone.
It's late and I'm tired. One that said that Cook County says something about they're able to take the organs from a dead person for organ harvesting. Anyway, it's from what I understand, it's probably very common language in almost every county, because because you have to be able to take samples of organs and not only examine them, but a lot of times they will keep additional samples just in case something happens and they need to come back, or slides, microscopic slides, in case they have to come back and re-examine them. And also, if you have any questions about how things are handled, the CDC, as far as I heard, they actually put down the guidelines for every state, county, jurisdiction on certain things that they have to do and procedures they have to follow during an autopsy. So can you speak a little bit on that, please?
Yes, ma'am. So as far as them, okay, so I've never heard anything of them keeping organs and sending people's organs off for like harvesting in terms of like with the medical examiner's office. I've never had that happen while I trained there, and the work that I do now, we don't do that. So when doing an autopsy, you're going to have to sample, the tissues from these organs to try to figure out what actually happened to the individual. So that tissue that's submitted, of course, you're not going to give that tissue back, because that tissue is processed. It's put in a paraffin block. It's made into a mold. It's then cut in smaller slices to then get put on a microscopic slide. Those slides are not going to be given back to the patient's family or given back with the body. They're going to be held and they're going to be stored. So that stuff will remain with the ME's office. But then the remainder of what wasn't sampled, it's going to go back with the patient's body.
I have one. This is Mama J. I just have one more question real quick. Would there be and I don't know, maybe the guidelines are different from state to state, but would there be a specific reason as to why they would not, or why they did not allow Teresa Martin to have the right to see her body once it was taken to the mortuary?
They didn't let her see the body once it was taken to the mortuary?
No, they would not let her see the body.
To the morgue. To the medical examiner's office.
Well, I know at the medical examiner's office, the Cook County, they have certain hours for the families to come down and view the bodies. And everybody should have a right to view the body once, you know, they get done with their investigation. So I'm not sure. Yeah, that doesn't. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
kind
I
of
was gonna say that was just that
very
was
strange.
that was very strange to me because I've dealt with a lot of death and I've never known a family member to be denied, no matter no regard regardless to what the cause of death was. I've never heard of the family and especially the mother being denied the right to see her child's body.
Yeah, because they even have a viewing room that's set up for the families to come view their loved ones. They have
Right,
a specific room for that. That's
right.
designed for that. They don't let them come back into where the actual autopsy is done, but they do have a room there. So that's very strange that they did not allow her to view her baby. That's strange.
And I have a question. Is it normal that they allow them to um, identify their child's body at the crime scene?
Absolutely not. I don't think that uh from my opinion, I don't think that she should have been able to even be like back there. Like no, all of those people that were walking in and out should have not have been able to go on back there because that whole area was evident. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you're allowing individuals to come through and tamper with everything. You see what I'm saying? So that whole thing should have been like taped off like a crime scene and all of the evidence should have been gathered. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that any of them should have been allowed to be walking back and forth through there like that. That was very unprofessional and unethical, in my opinion, to have it done like that. Yeah. I've never seen that like that before.
Perfect. I see somebody just jumped on the panel. Miss
Keyshawn?
Antoinette, Miss Anointed, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead. You have a question?
Yes, this was anointed. What I was saying about the ball gag, I looked at her videos. Well, she did two separate videos. The one of a picture when she was in the freezer, and the one when she was walking, and she went in and cleared the video up, and it had like this thing around her neck, and it had chains on it, and it came up with a spike up through her chin, through her mouth with the ball up in there, and that's why her mom don't say it looked like her mouth was splitted and her neck like it been choked. So basically, that's what she had around her neck to the zip tie, which she
Um,
exposed on video.
to be
So
honest,
that's why they had the hair to cover it up.
just to be honest with you, that picture or what you're describing is nowhere in the in the case file. So I would believe that that picture was a edited picture by somebody who placed it on social media.
Okay. So that's why I was just trying to see why they didn't mention it or whatever.
Yeah, they didn't mention it because that picture didn't even exist.
Okay.
Okay.
Where? Okay.
You want to
I see
ask
what
another
you're
question?
saying. I see what you're saying, but they, when they said the funeral, they seen a cut in her mouth and it looked like she had been choked. So I don't know.
So
Okay, that's all I have to say.
from what I received from Teresa Martin's post, and what she discussed regarding the cut is that the cut was under Kenneka's cheek. There was no cuts on her mouth. It was under her cheek, so close to her neck bone area. So I'm not sure where that information come from. Has anybody on the panel seen that information come out?
No, ma'am.
No, I
Fact check?
haven't.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not aware of the information that you're speaking of. As far as when it comes to what Teresa Martin said, it was a cut that was under Kenneka's cheek. There was no cuts on her mouth.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Oshun, I see you on the panel. How are you doing, honey? Good morning, or what's your
Hello, good morning.
you have a
I'm
question?
calling from Dallas, Texas. Yes, I do have a question. Well, too, I have a statement too. I used to take Topamax for migraine headaches, and then too, I used to drink alcohol and stuff with it. But
Mm-hmm.
before anything, it would make me like real sleepy, kind of dazed a little bit. But with the
Mm-hmm.
alcohol, it didn't progress it. So the question that I do have is that with the alcohol volume they found in her system, and also with the amount of the, I would say, Topamax that was in her system. If your body, if your body's so relaxed, how could they tell if you have been raped or not?
But this question is for Miss Nursey. That the level at which she had like that medication, was it enough
Yes.
to have an effect on her movement?
Yes, it was a therapeutic level, which means that because if, like, for instance, if you give a certain dosage, and when I went back and looked at it, the level that she was in would have been indicative of maybe 100 to 200 milligram pill.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know what time it was taken, so because as time goes on, the levels drop. But say, for instance, it was given to her at the party, or maybe before or whatever, then the level that she had was a therapeutic level. It wasn't a toxic level. It wasn't a level that would be considered anywhere near overdose.
Okay.
But as a young lady is on a panel, normally when you start that drug for a new patient, they start off sometimes at a lower dose and
Lower
they titrate
dosage.
you up. Yeah, they'll
Yes.
start off at 25, they go to 50 to 100
100.
because
Yeah, I was at
normally if you
25.
right, and because when they start at a higher dosage, you get more of the side effects. But so, like a person, like for instance, she said it didn't affect her that much. If you've been taking it for a while, you don't have the same side effects as you would when you first start taking it, because your body starts to adjust to it. So it was at a therapeutic level, but it was nowhere near a toxic level.
No.
It just
Okay.
could be that she was not used to the medication, and so
Mm-hmm.
that's why it had, with the alcohol, it had that type of effect on her.
Yeah, because what I was just saying was that, like, when I first started taking it, I was still drinking with it because of the migraines, and it was really at a low dosage. But it's like, well, I'm kind of sleepy, but I'm not ready to go to sleep, but I got a headache, and it was just, like, I just go ahead and take this pill, but I'm gonna go ahead and stay up, and like the alcohol, it would actually keep me up to decide just going to sleep, but your body just gets so relaxed. And it's like, when you get ready just to pass out and get ready to go to sleep, your body just so relaxed. So I just wanted to find, what is the difference between that? Like, your body's so relaxed, how could they tell if she, wasn't raped or anything like that when it comes to penetration, like you said, like the anal and everything, towards like, no forced entry. Relaxed.
Well, I mean, just from my perspective, I mean, like, so we know that she was somewhat aware, because when she sent the text saying that, she was ready to go, it's probably some assumption that, she was uncomfortable. So at this point, she
Yeah.
already had the medication probably in her system. She was probably drinking or doing whatever. So she had sense enough to know that, this is about to be an uncomfortable situation for me. I need to go ahead and go home. So
Yeah.
even though the video showed her staggering and all of that, she still had somewhat of some type of control over her movement. So with that being said, in my opinion, in terms of her being assaulted, I believe that she would have tried to put up some sort of fight. I don't believe that she would just lay there and be lax and let something happen to her. So initially, when, we as women, when, we're in that flight or fight mode, you're going to, naturally tense up. If somebody is trying to do something to you, that you don't want to happen, you're going to tense up. So when you tense up, you're going to naturally, like, quench your anal area and your vaginal. So when this happens, this is how the tearing occurs, when they try to force stuff in. So that's what they look for.
Okay. Well, that was the only question I had. And thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, is it anybody else on the phone?
I have a question for Kayla. In your opinion, do you find that it's taking extreme?
I'm sorry, somebody
Yes,
echoing. What was your question again?
Are you finding that it's taking an extremely long time for the results of the second autopsy to come back, in your opinion?
Joyce, can you mute your phone, please?
So you asked me, do I think it's abnormally a long time from the second autopsy findings to come out? I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not really certain as to what procedures are done when they have to re-exhume a body, or if they're going to re-exhume her body. Like, I guess they would have to, because her organs should have been buried with her unless her mom knew that she was going to have a second autopsy. And in that case, maybe the organs were sent to that investigator. So I'm not really certain, like, how long it takes to get those results or what measures they're doing. I
Okay.
would think that both the environmental fact, like the whole atmosphere, like where she was and all of that, will play a key into, them finding out what happened to her, as well as her organs, that nature.
Okay. I got you.
Okay. When you get on the panel, can you please mute your microphone? Whoever on the panel.
Joyce, I'm sorry, Clay. Does Joyce have a question? Or is Joyce the person who asked the question already? Joyce, are you there? You're on mute. Do you have a question? Joyce, you're going to have to unmute your mic. Do you have a question? Okay, go ahead, Clay.
Somebody in the Okay. Somebody in the chat said, does hypothermia cause brain swelling?
From what I read, no, it does not. Not from the articles and the papers that I read on hypothermia, the literature. No, it does not cause brain swelling.
Okay. Somebody else said, did her body look frozen?
So I wasn't there, but from looking at the photos, no, it did not look frozen to me. And just by going by the report, by what they said in the autopsy report, they said she was cold. They said she was not frozen.
So I do want to just say, just briefly, I understand that we have more and more people who are jumping into the chat. There are some questions that are being re-asked. So please do not feel as if we are ignoring your question. But if the question has already come up, we're going to go ahead and go past it. And you can definitely go back and re-listen to the professional opinion from Kayla. And I promise you, the questions that you have asked have already been brought up. So again, and I just want to take a moment to say thank you so very much, Kayla, for taking the time out of your day on top of it being a holiday tomorrow. Thank you so much for taking the time to come forward and give us your professional opinion. We are going to go ahead and give it about 10, 15 more minutes, and we're going to wrap it up. So again, dig deep down into your thought process. And if there's a question that you feel has not been asked or something that you really, truly want to know regarding the autopsy report, go ahead and ask questions. So that we can make sure that by the time we leave here, there is no confusion. All we want to do is fact check the information and make sure that we are providing the proper information to everybody out there who is concerned about getting justice for Kenneka. I see we have two more people who just jumped on the panel. Tanisha. Hi, Tanisha. You have a question?
Yes, I do. How you doing?
Fine, and you, honey?
Happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
My question is, how would they keep the organs in the body after they do the autopsy? Because after they did the autopsy with my mother and my granddaddy that had stage 4 cancer, they removed all his organs. So when we had the funeral and we had to dress them, their bodies was empty.
Right. It was almost like it was reconstructed.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what did they do with their organs. Because you know what, at that time we didn't even ask, because after you lose somebody, we don't even want to go through the process of having a
Right.
funeral. But I was just now that I'm thinking about it, I'm trying to figure out what did they do with my family organs.
So can I ask you a question? Are you aware if your loved one was a organ
Yeah.
donor? Because my fiance, I wasn't aware that my fiance was a organ donor until after we got to the hospital. And at that point, when we got
Uh-huh.
to, at that point, they set him up to take all of his organs. So when we got to the funeral home for his services, he didn't have any organs. His body was reconstructed. So is it a
Okay,
possibility that he could have been a complete organ donor?
I'm about to look at his ID right now as we speak.
Okay.
Because you know what, I'm an organ donor, but I think I'm gonna go change my mind.
I'm gonna tell you, let me just jump in and say this really quick to people who feel like you should not be an organ donor. My fiance was killed in March and he was an organ donor. And listen, just because when you say that you want to donate your organs, when you go through your transition, they have the right to take every organ from your body that is able to be taken. You're not signing a piece of paper stating that you can take one organ but don't take the other. But I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm going to remain an organ donor because it was so touching and moving for me to know that when my fiance passed away and they took him into surgery to take his organs, and they brought that family member in or those families in to take those organs, he was saving lives. There's people who are walking around with the piece of my fiance in him. And the blessing to it all is that after they recover and months from now, we get to meet those people. My fiance had bright blue, beautiful eyes. I can't wait till I get to meet the man or the woman that is holding those eyes behind them. You understand? So being an organ donor is not a bad thing. I think that people, because of the Kenneka situation, have put an almond on it, and it's not bad. You are saving lives. Listen, we are in the ground and our body is transitioning over. And do you know
Okay.
how proud a person would be to know that your loved one, your grandfather, your father, your mother, your fiance, your child has saved somebody's lives? And I'm just throwing a number, but it was close to 50 people that my fiance was able to save when
Oh
he transitioned over. So it's not a bad thing at all. I don't want people to walk away thinking that.
God.
Please
Okay.
don't think that way.
Yeah, but I mean, understand under these circumstances, since Kenneka have not gotten no justice from the beginning, nobody. I mean, it just seemed like they haven't respected her at all. Like they put her pictures out, they put out false information. I have a little cousin that got murdered, and it happened right in front of Target. They
Hmm.
didn't release the videos. They let his mama come see his body. Because they robbed him, took his wallet, and he didn't have no identification. But since somebody called us and told us where he was at, the police really didn't want to do it, but for her, they did it for her so she can identify herself. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Because some people will bend the rules for you under some circumstances, because he was set up and somebody robbed him, shot him in the head 3 times,
Oh,
and we had to identify his body. You know what I mean?
Right. I'm
So
so sorry.
it's sometimes they will bend the rules for you, but not all the time. And I just feel like that they have not gave this lady no type of justice. None.
No,
None.
no.
None. Or Kenneka. I just feel like they disrespected her. I'm just trying to figure out, you know, she's a special person because we all special. God made us.
Hmm.
Our parents. And I'm thankful for that, first of all.
Yeah.
But all these other kids that have got murdered, why we not investigating them too? Like, why are they playing with us like this? Why are they playing with this lady like this? Because if this was my child, it'd be no way in the world that the videos would be out, her pictures would be out, people having a discussion or fighting for her justice, and nobody, this is a hard situation. This is
Well,
hard.
I'm gonna tell you something. I don't know if you're a first time viewer or if you've been able
I am.
to tune into our show. Well, welcome to the show, honey bunny. So let me tell you, our motive and our purpose here is to find the flaws in this case. We document everything. So when we go live, we do have people who are taking some type of notes about what's going on. If it's offline, we record it. We document all of the flaws and errors. We send it over to Larry, which is Teresa's attorney. We also send communication to Teresa regarding what we're doing when we're going live and who and what we're discussing. And then we also send letters. We have a lot of people who have wrote letters to the mayor to get. So there are necessary steps that we're taking here. So if that's where your heart is and that's what you feel, then I just would have to say that you're in the right place. Welcome home. You are like family to us because everybody that views us and comes into this show, we don't call them followers, we don't call them viewers, we call them family. Everybody wants justice. We just got back a couple of days ago from DC. We did the DC trip. We're going to, in the next 90 days, we're also going to do another DC trip. And we're going to provide the necessary paperwork, but we have to have these professionals come on and call out these flaws in order for us to be able to get the case open. If we can't provide new evidence, then we cannot. There's nobody that you can go to that's going to provide that's going to help us get the case open. So what we do here is we fact check the information. Everything that we discuss is based off of case files, what's in the case. No hypotheticals, no assumptions, no theories. Through it and we find the errors. So that's what we do here. So
that's why I salute you. I salute you. You guys are amazing. Like if I was Teresa and I was Kenneka, 100%. I would love for you guys to have my back. I mean, like, you guys are amazing. I mean, like, you are amazing. You are a blessing. Because without y'all, what would this baby do?
Yeah.
What would she do? You know, you guys are amazing. You know, pat yourself on the back because you are working hard for somebody you never met. And I love you guys for this because, man, without y'all,
I think our thought process here is there for the grace of God go I. So listen, that could be me, that could be you, that could be your child, that could be anybody child that's sitting in the chat. That could there for the grace of God go I. So I pray to God that if something ever happens to me, I have people like you guys to rock out with me, not bash my mother, not tear my mother down, not knock my mother down, but hold her up in prayer, hold her up with positive words, hold her up with all the right things that need to be taken. That's what we try to set ourselves. All of the shenanigans. I understand everybody's, theories and their thought process, but unfortunately, all we have here is the casework. All we have here is the paperwork they provided. And listen, people say a lot of times, well, why pay attention to the case file? They're all corrupt anyway, because people make mistakes.
Right.
I'm not going to let mistakes go unseen. He is going to call them out and he is going to bring them to the light. So that is what our plan and our mission and our journey is to do here. Would anybody else on the panel like to say anything to our guest?
And sweetheart, one more thing. I have 2 lawyers in my family. One is my sister and one is my brother. And they've been, on the Kenneka case looking. But like, I would love to refer you to him just for answers. Like he have his own law firm. His name is Gordon Greenwood. You can Google him. He's not saying it like that, but he's a multimillionaire. He have his own law firm. I mean, he wants to help, but I didn't know how to do it. It's my only first time be able to reach out to you, and I'm glad I got to reach out to you. Because you don't have any bad thing to say, nothing.
No.
So if I can give him your information with your permission, or you can Google him, his number, his firm, everything is on there. And he will be more than welcome to, answer any questions, anything you need.
Absolutely. Anything. Please give him all of my contact information. I will have one of the moderators put my email address in the chat box. Send me an email address and I'll send you over my telephone number and everything.
Okay, and you more than welcome. His doors are always open. He does a lot for the community. He's in Oakland, California. I mean, him and my sister, they does a lot. And whatever you need. Just put it like that. Whatever you need, he's going to do it for you.
Thank you so much, honey. We love you.
Thank you so much. That is a blessing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And won't God do it, y'all?
Won't
Thank
God look at
you.
God, won't he?
Yes, He will.
Thank you.
I'll go back. Roy Netta. Hi, Roy Netta. Welcome to the panel. Your phone is on mute, so you can take it off and ask your question, honey.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you. We can't hear you anymore. Your phone is on mute.
Hello?
Okay, we got you.
Okay. I just have one question. Y'all remember when they had that picture of her left hand like froze up in that like cadaveric spasm? How would it cause it to do that? I mean, what would be the reason why it would do that?
So normally, just from my logic, like normally when you're in some type of struggle just before you die, your muscles are going to tense up. You see what I'm saying? So you're going to, that rigor mortis is going to set in. So I'm not sure at that point in time if she was holding something or trying to make a fist or grabbing something, you know, or latching hold to something. Maybe that could be a reason as to why her arm was in that certain position, grasping like that. So I'm really not, you know, it could be a number of things. Maybe they were trying to take something out of her hand. Maybe she was trying to make a fist. Maybe she was trying to fight. But whatever she was doing, she was in a struggle. And normally when you fight and you struggle before you die, your muscles are going to be tense and you're going to be pretty much, you know, stiffened in that position.
Yes, that's what I also thought too, because I also read up on it and it says something about if you're like your body's like in a stressful situation that it would do that while you're dying.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well that's all I have. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I see that we have Quashawn. Quashawn, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you, honey.
Okay, I just had to call back because it's just something that I'm just really battling with this whole Kenneka Jenkins story. You know, it's kind of being like a whole issue where everybody just losing sleep behind it, and you know, trying to figure out what's going on.
Right.
And I just really want justice for her, and just hopefully be that all the people that spit in our face that has something to do with it. You know. Because it's like it's just too much going on. It made me just really clinch to my daughter so much. Because like now I'm afraid to go to hotels and I got family that stay out of state. Now I'm supposed to be going there, but you know what I'm saying, for Thanksgiving. I'm just like, man, no, if I can't stay at your house, I'm not staying in the hotel. Because it's just like you never know. And it just really taking a toll on me ever since the beginning. Many theories, and I love you, Fat Check. I really do. Because if you get down to the nitty gritty, and you and Mama, y'all got that on lock.
Well, let me tell you, I love you more. And I just want to tell everybody, listen, when Kenneka had her funeral and the pastor spoke on sacrifice, I believe people took that word too far.
Ran with it.
You know what I'm saying?
And they ran with
Let
it.
me tell you something. When you don't have the word in you and you don't understand God and have a relationship with God, you're not going to understand what that man meant at that very moment that he said what he said. Teresa sacrificed her daughter so that there were friendships built, there were bonds.
Yeah.
There is unbreakable friendships that will never go away just based off of Kenneka's name. There are demonic things that have been exposed about people, ways and personalities, and how far people will go to get to where they want to get. Kenneka has exposed so much.
Much.
And
Yeah.
listen, I definitely understand her mama's, but I'm gonna tell you
Yeah.
something. Kenneka had to go. Let me tell you, God don't make mistakes.
Thanks.
Period.
Exactly.
So the day this happened, God didn't make a mistake. People are so quick
Yeah.
to say because something bad happened involved. That's not the truth. Things happen so that God can wake people up.
No.
Kenneka
Exactly.
brought us to a place in our lives that we needed to be, and she brought awareness to situations that we needed to be aware of. And that is where we are at right now. And we have a choice to do
Yeah.
the right thing or to do the wrong thing. We
Wrong
have a
thing.
choice to go the right way or to go the wrong way. I salute everybody in this room. I'm not gonna lie. I clicked on a room today and I watched the chat, and the chat was so negative, and it was just ugh. It was like, oh my God, like people are in here cussing and hooting and hollering and talking about Teresa and shooting her down and beating her down. And when you come in this room, and I'm not tooting my horn because it's my room, but when I come in here,
Yeah.
look at the type of crowd that I bring in and the respect that
Yeah.
people have and the love that people have and the friendships that we build. And some of you guys reach out and you call me. Some of you guys reach out and you text me. Some of you guys reach out and you email me. And I try to make sure that I get back to everybody. And I try to make sure that we answer everybody's questions because, listen, we are family.
Exactly.
We are
If
family.
not,
We
exactly. We ain't never met each other, but at the end of the day, we all here for the same cause. Cause
same
that could
cause.
happen to any one of us. You
Yes,
know,
ma'am.
and you want somebody gonna fight the same way when it comes to your family.
Exactly. Exactly. So, I we love you more. I love you more. And
I
listen,
appreciate that.
I'm
I
I'm a,
love
I'm a
y'all
still
too.
I'm a steal somebody's phrase, and ain't nothing you can do about it. Let's put it like that. I
Exactly.
love y'all to death, and ain't nothing you can do about it. That I'm never gonna change up on you. We're never gonna switch up on you. We're
Mhm.
always going to continue to stick to the facts. Period.
Exactly. And one thing I always live by, Pastor always told me at my grandmother's funeral last year. He's like, ain't nobody promised to you. We all on borrowed time.
Mm.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's the same way you clock in to go to work in the morning and you don't make it out from work, somebody borrow you for that time.
Mhm. Say it again.
We all on borrowed time. It's all about how you use your borrowed time. Because we all
Listen,
gotta go.
we came into this world with two dates: your
Exactly.
birthday and your death day. You can't change
Exactly.
death day. What you can
Mhm.
change is the dash that is in between it. Now you
Exactly. Your
want to
social security
sit
number.
back and do nothing. You want to sit back and do nothing with it, or you want to sit back and fill it in with some positivity, and that's all we try to do here.
Exactly. But I just had
And
to say that though. I'm sorry.
You okay, honey?
that's why I try to give love every day to people. When I see people with a sad face, I just say I love you. Give me a hug. Let me make you laugh
Mhm.
today because I'm fighting
Mhm.
Donald Trump. Donald
Yeah.
Trump ain't gonna win and the devil ain't gonna win. I'm gonna spread so much love every day and respect to people. That's my destiny every day. Shake a
Yeah.
hand, give a hug, give a smile,
Yeah.
and give a little tickle. And give a little tickle. Just a little tickle.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
I
And
do
I'm
see
sorry,
that.
but I got a 2-year-old daughter who done messed up my room, and she's still on borrowed time because I'm about ready to kick her butt. To bring a
It's
little bit of
okay.
like we anybody know what a 2-year-old.
It's all right. You listen. You give your 2-year-old much love from Fact Check TV. We love
I
you.
know it.
Oh,
Yeah.
we love to hear them happy voices.
Yes, man. That's all we all about. Just live, love, and laugh. That's it. I don't like no animosity. I don't like to do all that because we all could be in the same place where Miss Teresa is. But until that day come, don't judge nobody for what they done, the tattoos they done put on there, the way they done raised their kids. Because
Mm.
everybody, the parenting skills ain't the best. Only thing you can do is do what you can, instill in what's in best with your kids or your children, and hope they do the best.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
all
Because
we
we
do.
all on borrowed time.
Yes, ma'am. But thank you so, 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 so much. We love you.
Oh, I love y'all too, but I'm gonna clean up this mess with this 2-year-old.
Okay.
I'll holler at y'all later. Good
Okay.
And
morning and good night.
You
I'm
too.
gonna get
Happy
in contact with you
Thanksgiving.
because I got something special for you. I just want to
Oh,
get you to a spa and you relax and let. I just want you to have a date for yourself, and it's gonna be on me, and that's gonna be for me
who
and
you
my
talking to
son.
me?
Have
Cute
no
shirt.
fat check.
Oh, okay. I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
say.
make sure. I'm gonna make sure she get a spa date. Make sure she get a pedicure, a massage, the whole 9 yards. I don't
She
care
need
how
it.
much.
She
Thank you
need a
so much.
vacay.
Yes, she
Yeah,
do. She
we
work hard. She's working hard, and
Yes.
she
You
working
don't bust your tail, baby. And I commend you. And
thank
I
you so
really
much.
do.
I love you both. Listen, I will never
Don't
lay
worry.
down a rest day, honey, because I
I'm
like to
telling you.
take my little naps. Listen, I'll be
I'm
over here
telling you.
knocked out. My team be calling me all morning. I'll be like, huh? What happened? What did you hear? What
Like
did
my baby, she tell me, she's like, Mama, get up. I want me a toaster. I'm ready for some oatmeal. I was like, girl, I can't wait till you get 12 so you go here and fix your own stuff. And
Exactly,
I don't even eat
exactly.
oatmeal, but I had to learn how to cook oatmeal. And I'm just like, oh, sweet baby Jesus.
I know that's right. Well, thank you so much. I love you, honey.
All right, love you guys. And thank you for all the information, though. I love it. I love it. I love it. And
You're
Mama
welcome.
J, thank you in doing y'all protests. We got to open this case back up.
We're gonna get that done collectively
Yes, ma'am.
together.
And happy Turkey Day to y'all.
Same to you, baby.
You.
All right.
Same to you.
Yes, ma'am.
I see that we have a Jackie on the line. Hi, Jackie. Do you have something you want to say?
Yes, can you hear me? Okay, yes. Thank you so much for
Pick it up.
letting
I got to
me
get
in.
offline. You're doing too much, Rain. I can't talk to nobody. Pick it up.
Hello? Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for letting me in. First of all, Jazz, I respect you. I love what you're doing.
Thank you, baby.
One of the things that I had wanted to ask during your live today, or during, when the lady was on speaking about her autopsy, was how common is it for a trainee or fellow to perform an autopsy when you have a question of how a person died. I do know that they are allowed to perform autopsies for their training whenever a person died of natural causes, if you were involved in an accident or, etc. But how common are you allowed? But I know that they're not allowed to do autopsies when there is a murder or a homicide. So what was it that allowed her to do the autopsy? Like, why did they allow her to do so whenever you look at her body and when they found her, what made them come to the conclusion that this was an accident initially and that they will allow someone who was not certified to perform her autopsy?
Yeah, so well, as you mentioned earlier, the fellows are allowed to perform autopsies. So pretty much these individuals have already gone to medical school. They've already completed their residency program. They're just in
Right.
their fellowship years. So they are doctors. They just have to undergo their fellowship years, extra training of in forensics to complete, their degree. So they're actually doctors, and the thing is, they can perform the autopsies, but they have to be supervised by the medical examiner. So that's why you see the fellow's name written on the report, and then you see the medical examiner's name written on the report. So they're not just in there by themselves. The doctor is right there assisting or observing what's going on. And then, like, why did they treat it as an accident? I mean, from my opinion, it's probably just how they walked into the scene. Like they obviously probably talked to the police. The police was like, yeah, it's an accident. This girl was found in the freezer. Whatever the hotel person that found her in there, whatever conversations they had with the police, then in return had with the medical examiner. So they just deemed it as an accident. Were they right for doing that? No. But this whole case was just not, it was just not handled properly from the beginning. On it, during every aspect of it, it was just not handled right from every person that was involved. The police, the hotel management, and a medical examiner.
So is it fair to say that when they walked in and they found her body, given the circumstances that she attended a party, she disappeared, nobody could find her, she had no cell phone, she pretty much left her keys, her transportation, her mom was concerned, wanted to file a missing person report, and then she ended up in a freezer. Given just your background, would that be, in your opinion, when you walked in, would that have been something that you would have looked at as an accident?
No,
To
ma'am.
where someone who was not certified and who was not allowed to do an autopsy on a murder, would you come in there and make that assumption?
No, ma'am, I sure would not have. Like, even not having the background in like autopsies, medicine, whatever, that would have been alarming to me. That's just common sense, I think, in my opinion. That it should not have been handled like that. It should have been some questions that needed to have been asked and answered. So yes, you're right. They should have used common sense at least. Common sense would have told them to take the necessary measures to gather the evidence that was there and to treat this case differently.
Okay. And just one more thing, they mentioned that she had cerebral edema, meaning that her brain was swollen. Her brain was swollen. She died of, basically they're saying that her reason for death was hypothermia, and also the fact that she was intoxicated and she had a medication in her system. From my understanding, the medication that was in her system is often used for epilepsy. And the fact that she was in a freezer, wouldn't that counterattack, or wouldn't that just go against the whole cerebral edema and all of those things, because I know that a lot of times that hypothermia is used to treat that brain swelling. So wouldn't that be like a kind of like a contradiction, if you ask me? Given the medication, given the fact that topromat, the drug that was found in her system, can be used to treat alcoholism, and then it is used to treat epilepsy. The hypothermia is used to treat cerebral edema. Like, wouldn't that contradict everything that they're saying? Like her reason, her manner of death, like wouldn't that contradict that?
Well, I'm not, familiar with the Caesar medication because I'm not a pharmacist or anything. We can let Miss Nursey answer that question. But in terms of everything being, contradicting, yeah, like it just doesn't add up. Like from the beginning, I mentioned that, how could they say that this young lady died from hypothermia when they didn't even, just do the basic things like take a core body temperature to see what her temperature was. Like they did not take the temperature of the freezer when they first found her. Why did they take it 2 hours later? Why were people allowed to go in and out of there messing with the atmospheric temperature in that freezer during the time of her death? All of that stuff should have been documented. A time of death should have been documented. Her temperature at that point should have been documented, all to calculate exactly when she died, like at what temperature she died, because there are multiple stages through hypothermia. It's multiple things that the body will manifest when it undergoes hypothermia. And in my opinion, the whole report just contradicted that because they didn't mention any frostbite anywhere. Her organs were not frozen. It just does not add up. And the dots do not connect with them saying that she died from hypothermia from those findings.
Okay. All right. So in what you're saying though, you stated that she didn't have any frostbite on her body. But given like if you look at her the wound on her foot, given the time that she was in the freezer and the color of her blood and the way the wound looked, how it was so fresh, would you say that she had been dead for over 21 hours or so that they said that she was missing, or do you think that that was fresh?
Well, it definitely did not look like old or dried up blood. In
Mm-hmm.
terms of when, like how long she had been dead for, unfortunately, I can't calculate, those types of things. But,
Right.
the fact that her body was not frozen tells me that, she could not have been in there long or probably dead really that long. Because,
So
for hypothermia to have killed her, she would have had to been at a very like cold temperature. They said that the temperature of the freezer was at 34 degrees Fahrenheit. And I know that the body, once the core temperature reaches like around, I think 80 some odd degrees, that's what's
Mm-hmm.
like deadly for her to like succumb to hypothermia. So, it just all depends on what her body temp was and like how long she was in there. That stuff, like, I really can't give an answer as to, like how long. Like that goes beyond my expertise because I wasn't there. It's really uncertain as to how long she was actually in there for.
and I think the big problem or
Okay.
the reason some of those questions are not able to be asked, Jackie, is because again, they didn't they didn't document her body temperature and they didn't
Mm-hmm.
document the time of death, which is a
Right.
huge thing. Those two main factors right there. We wouldn't even be here asking these questions. You know what I'm saying? Like we
Right.
would be able to
Exactly.
pinpoint a lot of the information that's going on, but because they missed they let's not even say they missed. They left out those two main factors because they know 1 + 1 would equal 2.
Exactly. I feel like
So
they intentionally left out information in order to support the narrative that she died of hypothermia. I
exactly. Yes,
don't feel
ma'am.
like she was poisoned by anyone at the party. I feel like the medication that was in her system was given to her to, kind of disable her and to shut down her,
Mm-hmm.
her brain
Well, I'm
because
gonna
she was
tell you
clinging
something.
on to life, and it just really doesn't make sense, because they didn't investigate the drug. Because if
Well,
there's a medication, that is a medication that has to be prescribed. So therefore, if it's in her system and she's not prescribed that, that's illegal.
here's the
So that's
problem
something that needs to be looked into.
within our
And I just kind of feel like
investigation.
they just, mhm.
Here's the thing within our investigation that we've been able to complete as far as Fact Check TV.
Right.
We have become aware that there are a couple of people within Kenneka's circle who either suffer from some type of depression or seizures. So there are people in her circle who would take this type of medication. However, any medication that you take, it takes a certain amount of time for it to kick in. So one of the conclusions that we've come up with is that prior to Kenneka arriving or prior to Kenneka leaving to go to that party or on her way in transitioning to the party, that medicine, that particular narcotic was given to her. So by the time Kenneka arrived at the party, and she felt uncomfortable within that 7 minutes she was ready to go, it's because the medicine had already kicked in and she felt her body taking some type of toll on her that she
Right.
wasn't able to handle. So I think, that's one of the big things that people need to realize is, listen, within the time that Kenneka got to the party, from the time she got to the party to the time that we see her on camera under the influence, liquor and medication at the levels that they say she took would not have taken a toll on her like that, which
Mm-hmm.
means that when they gave her this liquor and this medication, it was before the time of her arriving to the party, which would mean that whoever was with her in that car drugged her on the way there and it kicked in when she got to the hotel, which is why within that 7 minutes she was ready to go. We're really stuck on the fact of it was a murder with a cover up of a cover up. So I believe that
whoever was with her prior to her leaving to that party, whoever pumped her up to go to that party, is a person who played a role in drugging her. By the time Kenneka got there, she was already out of her element, and she was ready to go. And it made it very easy for them to coerce her, or talk her into going to whatever she was going, whatever kitchen she was supposed to go to. And at that point, that's what happened to her. Like, well, that's my personal opinion anyway. A ding 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 ding, ding opinion, not fact, just an opinion. But I think that is what happened, because that you take, it takes a while for it to kick in.
Can I say something? Jazz, I need
Right.
to I remember you asked me a question in the beginning about autolysis. I think you and
Yes.
Miss Nursey asked a question about. So I just wanted to give y'all a clear, explanation of what that is, because I don't like missing stuff. So pretty much after a person dies, the organs have enzymes, and these enzymes are basically going to start to break down that organ. So pretty much that's what they found. I think you said it was in the kidneys, that extra report. They said the kidneys had autolysis or something.
Yes.
So that's pretty much what that is. And grossly how that's going to present, it's going to look, the organ, the parenchyma is going to look softened, and that's because the enzymes have already started to break down that organ, and that normally occurs. That occurs always after the person's dead. So that's just like a thing that happens when you die. Your organs start to.
But would a medical examiner say that the body has been well preserved and say the same thing what you said, autolysis, at the same time?
Well, he's pretty
Because
much.
the medical examiner said that her body was well preserved after refrigeration, and it didn't say that she was frozen.
Oh, hey,
Sorry. So
it's Mama J. Jasmine said I got to ding a bell. What bell?
Ding, 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 ding. It's your opinion.
Oh, because she said it's my opinion.
Ding the bell.
She always comes up with new rules when I'm not on the air with her. Ding, 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 ding.
Okay.
My opinion is, because I read what somebody, I believe Kenneka was found dead in that freezer, but I don't believe she froze in that freezer. I believe that whole freezer thing was staged, even all the way down to the that were in that freezer. I just don't. I believe they found her in that freezer, but I don't believe that her cause of death was that she froze to death at all. I mean, I've seen frozen bodies, and I've never seen one that looked like Kenneka's. And I've gone again to several different large stores that have those type of freezers, and everyone has told me the same exact thing. They said they've never even seen ice built up in those freezers like that, because they have automatic defrost systems.
Yes, ma'am.
So there would be no reason for chunks of ice to be in there on the floor. To me, it was just staged, the whole freezer thing. Ding ding.
I agree.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
agree, Mama Jazz.
And while we're giving opinions, let me just say this.
Ring the bell, nurse.
Okay.
Ring the bell.
Ding, 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 ding. This is another opinion. It's kind of opinion and fact. So let me just, the story, the narrative that we gave as to why the freezer was supposedly on was because they had rented it out to a restaurant or to a caterer or something like that. And I would say anyone who thinks that there is not a cover up or anything like that, either with the hotel or the police department or both, have you ever rented any space, be it an apartment, an office, a storage unit, anything, a cubicle, that when you rent it, it's dirty, that you have to go
No.
in and clean up? Normally, when you rent a space, it's presented in an aesthetic way where it's clean. Now, you may go over it and clean again, but it's not in that condition. In addition to that, if, say for instance, you did and you wanted to, and another reason, if it's cold, when things are cold, it's harder for you to clean them up. I can't see them renting to any restaurant or any caterer with a freezer in that filthy, dirty condition. I mean, if they did, that restaurant It should be closed, because even if you store something, boxer in it, that freezer was deplorable. So that says to me that that was just a lie. And what I did not see in the files was them saying, okay, who did you rent it to, X and Y, and following up and confirming that. Because that should have been a statement. They should have gone to whoever they supposedly rented it to and say, when did you turn on the freezer? Blah, 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 blah. That did not happen. So that even supports more of what Mama Jordy says. That, to me, that was just and that's another way to insult our intelligence. Who rents any space like that? When you rent a space, you usually have it clean. Who rents a dirty, filthy, moldy space like that to anyone? So it's just too many things in this case that just don't make common sense. And when you sit back and really
Right.
think about them, you're like, wait, what? You rented that to whom? And if you were gonna rent it and say they had not started using it yet, why would it be on? Because that was the excuse. Because you don't come in and try to clean up a cold, frozen area. It's harder as soon as you put water on it or whatever. It's gonna get hard and freeze. You would want to clean it when it was off and warm, and you can scrub and get things better. Am I not right? I mean, does that make sense?
And it's also a matter of, I just
Hello?
wanted to touch on the fact that a lot of people don't understand the hospitality industry. I worked in a restaurant that started up within a hotel that had a parking deck. And that hotel had actually leased an additional freezer to us in our restaurant that was in the bottom. And initially, when they did lease it to us, that freezer, they had to remove what they did have stored in there because it was an extra freezer for them. So when we opened up, go in and remove their items, because our managers were complaining about, they need to go ahead and remove their items because we're open now. We need to store our extra items. And so when they were saying that their freezer was not, was in a part of a abandoned kitchen, or it was not being in use, I feel like they wanted to say that because they did not want to scare away their potential customers or anyone, period, of knowing that there was a dead body in their freezer, which may actually point to all of the track marks that are in there. Because we did actually have to get them move all their things out of the freezer, and I worked in the kitchen. People who are walking in there with the with the shoes and how it looks afterwards, and it was so many track marks in that freezer where she was found. I don't believe that that freezer was actually abandoned. I believe that they went in there and they removed whatever they had in there, in order to make it seem like it was abandoned. And also, we did have with hotels, they have a separate area where they take their trash out. And also they have security and they have cameras to make sure that the employees are doing what they're supposed to do in the event of, you know, claims. So I just really feel like this was a complete cover up. They're lying completely, in my opinion.
Yes, I agree with you. It's Mama J again. And what I was going to say about that, and I've been thinking about this a long time, and I haven't really mentioned it, but I find it very unusual that a freezer that is located in what they said, a part of their, the part of the establishment under construction, keyword, under construction, by certain laws and standards. If you have a certain part of your establishment under construction, it's supposed to be off limits to anyone and everyone because of liability. Because of anybody could go in there and get hurt if it in fact was under construction. So that right there just sounded suspicious to me. If you're under construction and you have all these different kitchens in your hotel, why would that be the freezer that you would be leasing out or renting out to anyone to use?
Exactly.
It just doesn't make sense. I'm just so glad we back on the Kenneka case. I don't know what to do.
I got a question. Who said they had worked at a hotel? I mean, at a restaurant that's linked to a hotel.
Jackie.
Me, I have.
Okay, I got a question. So, do y'all normally just leave y'all kitchens open where anybody can just walk into them?
No, you cannot work. You cannot walk past a certain area. Period. I was a server. Number one, I wasn't even allowed in certain areas unless there was a manager of the kitchen with me. So that's how I know about the additional freezer, and that's how I know about the where they go and take the trash. The extra, like we would use a hotel in certain instances to take the trash down. That's how I knew about that. But you can't go past a certain area. We have an area just for the restaurant goers. So therefore, you can't cross a certain line. It's like a gun line. You can't come back here. You don't have the proper shoes. You don't have, you can't come back here, period. And they were like that. Like, you can't just walk into any area, especially when you have security sitting there. Like in the hotel, in the lobby, you just can't do whatever you want to do. You can't just get on any, on the elevator and get off on any floor and think that it's okay to wander around. Like, it's not like that. You cannot do certain things in a restaurant. Like it's a certain area for patrons, and we make sure that, they do not cross that area, period. People that work there, because we are properly addressed, we're dressed to work in this area. But, nobody has ever been allowed past, in the area where we work and in the kitchen, if you did not, you were not guided in there by someone that worked for for the restaurant. You can't just walk. No, you can't walk in there. My ex used to work in a restaurant where, me personally, I didn't work there, but I knew of the restaurant. They knew who I was, so I was able to walk in after hours. I knew what doors would be open or whatever, but I was never allowed in the kitchen. And I was with him for 10 years. They knew me, but they never allowed me in the kitchen because I do not work there and I'm not dressed to be in their kitchen. And I'm not, you cannot do that in hospitality. In certain areas that you just regular people, patrons, you're not allowed, period.
Okay, I got just one more question. Is it how uncommon is it to have the cameras not by the dock and the freezer not to work and them not get that fixed immediately?
The cameras are going to be on the areas of profit, and that's going to be the dock where the food is coming in. They always take inventory of what's coming in. They always, I remember they always fuss about, what is short, what they're lacking. And then also it's always on the bar area. If you have a bar in your restaurant, it's going to be on the bar area. It's going to be on the cash register. It's going to be on all the areas of where your money is. And especially the freezer. We had one on our freezer. We had one on the freezer in the basement. Like, you have to do that because people steal. People steal all the time, and that's how they protect their profit in the hospitality industry. There's going to be a camera on the freezer. There's going to be a camera in the kitchen in case somebody want to lie and say they fell and, something wasn't right. There's going to be a camera on the bar area to make sure that people are not, stealing alcohol or giving away free alcohol, or people are not stealing from the cash register. There's going to always be cameras in certain areas. Where they are deemed liable or where they may lose profit. So that's a lie. Like when they said there was no cameras back there, especially in the areas where the dock and where the employees come and go, like that's a complete lie. Like if anything, they're gonna watch the employees.
Well, no, they didn't. They said the cameras was like they didn't work. So I wanted to know, like,
just for correction.
That's a lie. That's a lie.
Just for correction, they had cameras. They were just inoperable.
Or so
Conveniently.
they said.
Conveniently,
Based off of
right.
based off of the fact based off of the case file, which is all we can go off of. That's what they advised, that they were inoperable.
Mm-hmm.
Convenient, but yeah. And again, that goes to the
Wow.
cover up for a cover up. Reach out to. There's a particular person who is in the room, Rita Ray. Those of you guys, I know we have a lot of new followers. Let me just explain to you here. What we do is at Fact Check TV, we only go through the files that are in the case file. If there are new videos that are dropped, unfortunately, we cannot verify if those are videos. So at this time, we do not discuss them. I do understand that there's a lot of YouTubers out there who have no problem with discussing those particular videos or footage. However, we're only sticking to the case file so that we can get the case open. Apologize. Please don't think that I was avoiding your question or what it is that you were saying. I did see, I was able to scroll back up and see your comment regarding a video that was dropped. Unfortunately, it came from a YouTuber. So if the footage is not in the case file, it's not something that we per se take on at Fact Check TV. We do not go off of any footage that is placed on YouTube. Every piece of footage and every photo that we discuss comes directly out of the case file. Directly out of the case file. And again, for all of my admins that are in the room, the email address that needs to be provided for people who have questions, comments, or concerns needs to be the Fact Check TV 2017 at gmail.com email. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, or would like us to fact check it, please send all of your questions or concerns to that email address, and we will definitely look at it and fact check it. However, I do understand that you guys have a lot of questions and there is a lot of information that's going on per Facebook, per YouTube. Listen, guys, it's a lot of doctored information out there. And if we spent the time going through all the information that was being put out, we would never be able to move forward. So our situation or our agenda here is to go through the case file, strictly the case file, and document what's incorrect. Okay? No. You're fine, Rita. I just wanted to say that, I understand that there are videos that are going on. There are photos that are being made. We just had a beautiful woman that came on the panel a little while ago who discussed a picture with a ball and a chain in her mouth, or it was a comment made about a ball and a chain. We can only
ball or something.
We can only speak on the information that we see in the case file. Strictly facts. That's all we stick to here. So again, the email address is factcheck. That's FAC. Jesus, did I forget how to spell fact check? FAC. Oh, I am exhausted.
Jasmine, what you sipping on over there, Jasmine?
Girl,
Fact Check TV 2017 at gmail.com.
Sleepy. Listen, I done did my hair. I done got my nails done. I got to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to drive to LA, which is a 3-hour drive. I am exhausted. So much. So yes, Rita, that's correct. It's at gmail.com. Rita, thank you so much. So you guys can go ahead with your questions. Jackie.
Hello.
There.
Okay, I want to say one more thing.
Okay, go ahead.
Can I say one more thing? So a lot of people, because I'm in groups in Facebook, also Facebook, and
that's
trouble.
That's trouble.
Here's my whole thing. Like, I'm very selective about what I comment on. Anything I say, I want to make sure that I went and looked it up before I pointed it out. But a lot of times the real information gets deleted for some odd reason, and they want to sensationalize the fake stuff. So what I wanted people to understand is that Cook County does not have a coroner. They did away with their coroner's office a long time ago. They actually just got their medical examiner's certification back because they lost it at one point in time. And so a lot of people were saying that the men that they seen in there, the guy that was dressed, that was underdressed, and then you had the older guy in there, that those were the coroners. Those are not the coroners. They don't have coroners. That is Mr. Roland Weiss, and that is his associate. I don't know what his first name is, but it was, kind of messed up on the log, but it was something J. Lopez. They came to transport her body to the medical examiner's office. And also the medical examiner that came in, his name is Jay Summers. I'm not quite sure if it's John Summers or James Summers, but they said that was a medical examiner that came in and certified her death. But my whole thing is, when you go onto their website, you have a chief medical examiner, which is a female, or her name is, she's foreign. Her name is hard to pronounce. They don't list a assistant. And then they have a list of the pathologists that are under them that do the investigations, and his name is not listed at all.
So when we were able
the person that supervised the autopsy, her name is on there.
Correct.
But so Mr. Summers' name is not on there.
When we were able to reach out to the coroner's office, and we actually recorded the conversation on live, they actually confirmed to us that what they have is the person who does the autopsy, and then they have a coroner investigator. So when you see the two people, you have the person who came out, which is the coroner investigator, which is who decided whether the crime was a murder or accident.
Okay, and he's been employed with them since 2008. So why isn't his name listed on their website?
Yeah, that's the information. Those are the type of things that we have to fact check. We actually just started digging into the coroner's office and the mortuary that came and got Kenneka. So at this point in time, we can't really answer those questions until we're able to fact check all of that information.
I have something to say right fast. So when I used to train there, it's very weird how they're able to make a determination of her death at the scene. Because when we were training with autopsies, that couldn't be done until after the actual autopsy was performed. And at that moment, so all of the forensics pathologists were assigned a certain amount of bodies to do autopsies on. They would do the autopsy, submit the tissues, and then they would have a huddle at the end. Within this huddle, they would go over each of their cases and collectively agree and decide how they were going to term each case, whether it was an accident, a homicide, And so it's strange to me how, those individuals were able to make a determination of it being an accident at the scene. It's very strange that they were able to do that.
Yeah, because when I called the coroner,
thank you for saying it.
We called the coroner maybe about, how many weeks ago was it, you guys? About 4.5 weeks ago, maybe? We called the coroner, and I asked a question about the autopsy, and he advised me he couldn't help me, that I would have to speak to the MD that did the autopsy. And I asked, well, who are you? And he said, I am the crime scene investigator. I said, well, what is that? The autopsy investigator. I said, okay, well, what do you do? And he said, well, I am the person who dictates if it's a accident or a homicide. I said, so you would have been the person that arrived at the crime scene and said it was an accident. He said, yes, ma'am. I said, okay, thank you very much. So besides the person that comes out to grab the body or to do the examination, there is a person that comes out with them who basically looks at the crime scene and says, oh, yep, it's an accident. So he works for the coroner's office. So I know that people are saying that there is not a coroner's office, but we called the coroner's office, and whatever department it is that's answering the phone, that's who we spoke to, and they identify themselves as the Cook County coroner.
Jasmine, when you go into their website, they state specifically that they've done away with their coroner's office. They made that very clear on their website. That's the reason why I said that, because I'm like, okay, so why people keep saying coroner? There's no coroner. There's no coroner.
When you Google Cook County Coroner's
He
Office,
doesn't have to be medically certified. He don't have to be an MD.
No, you don't.
So they don't have a coroner. They have a medical examiner, and they have a person that should be under the chief, and then they have the forensic pathologist. They don't have a coroner. Cook County does not have a coroner, and they have it on their website. So whoever that person is, I don't even trust nothing they say.
So Jazz,
Just to ask a question for Kayla, I believe when me and you first started corresponding, you said you interned. In Chicago. Okay, Chicago. So you didn't intern at Cook County. So
no, I interned at Cook County. I was at the Cook County Medical Examiner.
So they have a coroner, correct?
No, medical exam. Well, at the time I went, I dealt with a medical examiner. She was a pathologist, trained forensic pathologist. I can't remember what her name was at the time. I believe her first name was Elizabeth. This was a long time ago, and something happened shortly after I finished my training. Something with improper burials of the bodies or something. I don't know if they wasn't like getting rid of the bodies fast enough or burying them properly, and something happened.
They lost their license.
Yeah, and something happened, and I think that she ended up losing her job. Don't quote me on this.
Go ahead, pick it up.
Yeah, so I think something of that nature happened. But when I was there, it seems as though I was working under a medical examiner. Yeah.
Jackie, for Jackie that was on the panel, I did just eject you from the panel because there's people who want to ask questions. So I'm so sorry. I don't think I just gave you the boot. I see that we have our beautiful guest back. Quashawn, you got another question?
No, I have something to say. Can you hear me?
I love all of y'all lives because I'm gonna tell y'all go sit in the panel. Y'all go sit in the chat. Y'all think about questions and y'all bounce right back. Yes, ma'am. You got a question?
But I just have a question. Like when it comes to, like medical exam, like my dad got killed back when I was 3 years old, and and he died from a car accident. But it was like the medical exam, they took his blood levels and everything. My dad had pretty much his curl and everything was gone. But I just don't understand is like how they not able to find out a lot of these things. Because back then and back in 1983 and all that stuff, it doesn't make sense to me. And why they would not reach out farther to make sure this baby was not murdered. Or she just actually just walked into the quote unquote, you know what I'm saying, walk into the freezer.
Well, they're not reaching.
It does not make sense.
They're not reaching because it's a cover up for a cover up for a cover up. So, I mean, they're covering up their own information. So at this point, the only thing we can do is decipher what's real and go through the information and pick the flaws. So
yeah.
Right. So, of course, they're not going to provide all the information because, like I said, if they provide certain information, 1 + 1 = 2. If they would have gave us those two particular things that Kay was talking about, we would not be here right now.
Exactly.
We would have the answer to the problem.
Exactly. Because I'm just like, it does not make sense. And I be trying to explain certain things to my family, and I'm like, girl, leave that Kenneka Jenkins cases alone. I'm just like, no, it doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
Because, one thing, if I was in the shoes of my mama, she would have fill out, what I'm saying, try to find out where happened to her daughter. With me being her only kid, I'm the only child. So I'm just like, a lot of stuff, it does not, it does not make sense. And it aggravates me. Because everybody have questions.
Right.
Everybody has questions. So I just get so annoyed with that. Because it's like you just put up one case and, this case is like, okay, this, there. But then if somebody get a gunshot wound, okay, well, he died from a gunshot wound. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean that body, that bullet done turn around and float through their body. and it probably hit other organs, but you ain't gonna say that they got killed. You know what I'm saying? From that, from they live or they kidney being ruptured or they bled out. Unless you
Right.
just, you know what I'm saying? It just everything needs questions.
Exactly. That's why we're here to ask those questions. A second. Now
Anything gives. If
I
her
don't
body
know if
temperature, I'm sorry, but it's just like if her body temperature was not at the right point, why not try to do CPR on her? You know what I'm saying? Just to see if you could bring her back. If they can't sit up here and just say exactly what temperature that she died from, you just said hypothermia. You're giving
right.
out a different point. You know what I'm saying? And what time you found her. It's everything just up in air. Because really, don't nobody know but the people that was in that hotel room with her at the end of the day.
Exactly.
But it just like everything is all about temperature and all this. It's all about what you could have done. If this person done saw
Well,
her, okay.
that's the problem. So we have to dig through all that information and
Mm-hmm.
find out what's right and what's wrong.
Mm-hmm. And my thing is, a part of my heart, I really feel a lot of them kids that was there, they were drinking underage. Why not turn around and round everybody up and hold everybody hostage? You know what I'm saying? And just hold them within that little few hours or 48 hours, 24 hours. Because Dallas says we have that 48 hours. You know what I'm saying? To where it's like, hey, if the investigator turn around and get the question in, somebody gonna end up starting talking. Cause for one, the people that's over the age to bring alcohol, who turned around and served to them? They said Kenneka and them, her and her friends that went to the liquor store. Okay, hold liquor store accountable. You know what I'm saying? It's all
Mhm.
about finding out who all involved, who got this alcohol, who got this.
Right. Give me just a second so that I can speak on something really quick. Do you mind
Okay,
Mike
go ahead.
muting
No,
your mic?
go ahead, go ahead. You can mute me.
Okay. Give me just well, actually, you can press mute on your screen. There's a picture that for my regular panel. There's a picture that was sent to us by way of email. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Um, Let me just say, for Fact Check TV, we don't. The best way for me to say this is, well, let me just speak for myself. Period. I don't indulge in pictures like this unless it's provided to me by somebody with the correct credentials. I don't know the best way to say this. So I definitely want to bring it up and I definitely want to talk about it because these are the type of pictures that are floating around that people are putting out. I don't have the professional experience to be able to say if this is yay or nay, but what I will say is that crime scene analyst on the show. We also have had, we have a pathologist assistant on the show. And to see pictures like this, it just really saddens me because these pictures are not in the case file, and it feels like as if somebody who's really trying to provide justice, it's like going back and forth, back and forth, back, and it's like tug of war. It's like, and we are having to try to debunk a situation or bring logic to the provided to us. Somebody sent me this picture a while ago, and I never gave it the time of day because the response to the comment was she looked burnt. And it's like, come on, guys, we're reaching so much. You know what I'm saying? So basically, know about this picture. This picture in this video came out a while ago, maybe a few weeks ago. And supposedly, the information pertaining to this video was the fact that Kenneka was beaten, and the person that examined the pictures on their YouTube page was able to break down the layers of the picture, and this is what was identified. once they pulled the layers back. I'm sorry, but if there's no professional credentials behind who's doing the pulling back of the layers, I just can't take it serious. I mean, what do you guys think about this picture that somebody just sent? This came from another YouTuber's page, and they sent the information over to us to be able to look at, to examine. What do you guys? What's your take on this?
This looks like it was doctored to fit what they wanted their viewer to believe.
Yeah.
It's not the original picture. I can tell you that.
Right.
As a graphic designer, I'm gonna tell you exactly how they did that. They pretty much just used a burnt tool and made her skin areas look darker.
Yes, I agree. I also saw the original picture. If you look closely, there was some bruising, but I mean, it was noticeable, but it was nothing like that. That picture has been doctored, apparently very doctored. It was nothing like that.
Well, my first thing is look at the scrunchie.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see how the scrunchie looks like it's a cartoon? It looks animated. It looks distorted, like it's not even a part of the picture. Like I have a problem with people who edit and distort pictures to fit a narrative. Why? Just stick to the fucking truth. The truth is already fucked up enough. Excuse my language. The truth is already fucked up. Why do we have to add extras to it? Why? I knew there was a reason I didn't want to look at this email that came to me, but
Yeah, I mean,
respectfully, I
I've
have
seen
to look
that
at the
too, but
email.
unfortunately, there's a lot of stuff like that going around, and people who have not gone into the files and looked at the pictures or read the statements for themselves, they can easily be bruised like this. Because I'm going to say this: had they found her like that and released those pictures with her like that, that's not frostbite. That's not, that it would have been even a bigger uproar. I mean, I don't even think they would have released anything like that, because they would have said, "Are you crazy? Why did you?" We already saying, why did they close the investigation? But no, that is doctored. I'm sorry, it just is.
Yeah, that's definitely doctored. I really it's sad that people just you just do anything just to fit your narrative. That's just sad. I'm done with the jazz. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm done with it too. Rita, thank you so much for sending this information over to us. I think stuff like this, I don't know if I speak for my panel, but I think I do speak for my panel. I think stuff like this really irritates us.
Yes, it does.
It's really irritating. It really bothers my spirit that this is a Lord Jesus. Somebody just said language check, so let me check my language. This really, it bothers me so much. Like, what would y'all do if it was your child laying in this freezer and
And no,
people are
it's
doctoring, fudging, and moving pictures around and animating things, adding to and taking away and removing and multiplying and dividing, and come on, it's already enough problem, enough of an issue of where the police were wrong, the coroner went wrong, people adding to a picture. And I know that Rita just said it's not about the picture, it's about the hole in the back.
There is no hole in the back. That picture was doctored. Like
I Kayla, do you want to say something about the picture? Can you see it?
Yeah, I mean, it does not look real to me. I mean, you can tell her underwear are even like 10 shades darker than what they were, you know, in the other crime scene photos. So, I mean, I think people just should stop trying to make up things to try to, because it's really not contributing to us figuring out what exactly is going on with the case. And it gets frustrating. I mean, just like myself, I was like kind of like nervous about coming on sharing what I found out because I'm like, I want to make sure that I research everything, make sure that I have evidence because I don't want to come on here and just be like just giving y'all anything and not having the evidence to back it up. So I just don't understand how people would even feel comfortable putting something out there for people to believe, knowing that it's not, real. So that's all.
Let me. I wonder if I can circle in on this real quick. Let me see if I can circle. Does anybody see where I put that circle? See where the circle's at?
Yeah, Jazz.
That's the edit spot. Like if you're gonna edit a picture, edit it the right way. This big bulge right here, that's the edit spot. What you think? You're a graphic designer. What do you think?
Yeah, it's definitely an edit spot. I'll actually it's a edit. The whole thing is an edit, not just that one spot. Even on the
Let me do.
jeans, even in the creases, they went in the creases and made those darker. I mean,
Let me
it's
do another one for you. What's this right here, Black? See the second circle right
I
here?
can't see. I
Right
can't
here?
see it.
Right here? To the left. Left top corner.
Ah,
It doesn't belong in the picture.
yeah. It looks
Look at
like
the lip
it
gloss.
looks like some color.
Let me show you the lip gloss. Here's another circle. Do we see this? Look how the lip gloss is distorted.
Yes, edited, completely edited, and then they're not even professional. I mean, if I were doctoring that picture, I could make it look a lot more realistic than that.
You can just tell it's edited. Like you can tell details of the picture were just. I mean, wow,
Yeah.
wow,
Oh, we're gonna go ahead and take that down.
wow.
Hmm. So again, does anybody have any more questions that they want to ask? Listen, it's not to tear down who sent it to us. It just appalls us at the fact of who provided the information. It's already enough going on with this case. It's enough going on that we have to look at pictures like that, and not even us, her mama. Her mama got to see this. And this is what people go to her mother's Facebook page and go to YouTube pages and go to Facebook groups and discuss. And it takes hours just to try to debunk all the BS that's being put out there about this baby's death. Enough is enough, guys. And like I say all the time, for the people who are watching, a little bit more discernment, and you have to nip it in the bud when they post it. Call them out on their BS, whoever it is. Like, I don't even. Yeah, I seen the video and listen. I mean, A for effort. I don't know whether the person did it because they wanted to be able to make the situation look worse than what it was and bring more awareness to it. But unfortunately, and the things that people are dropping is not correct information. Period. Um, I don't know, Clay, you want to take some time to ask some questions or go over some of the questions that you see or comments? It doesn't even have to be questions. It could be comments that you see in the chat. You want to go over some really quick before we end the show? I think we've been on for about 3-4 hours now. You want to do some comments?
Sure. Just give me one quick second. Okay. D Blaze said, I have a question. Wouldn't a professional lip reader or body language expert help this case if they looked at the videos?
A professional lip reader
Lip
requires
What is hotel? I don't know. I don't think that's a question that we can answer.
Somebody said, did Tay figure out what was all the white stuff in her hair?
She gave an opinion about what was in her hair. She cannot be specific about what was in the hair because in order to know exactly what was in the hair, there would have to be what's the word I'm looking for, guys? Help me out, somebody. There you go.
Samples taken.
That's why I love Nursey. There would have to have been samples taken. There were no samples taken. So her opinion was that the stuff in her hair came from outside.
Sassy said, you guys be blessed and have a thankful and blessed Thanksgiving. God bless you. God bless you all. I'm going to help my mother-in-law with our Thanksgiving dinner. Same to you. Thank you.
Me a plate.
Thank you.
Thank you. Same to you.
Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Turkey, 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 turkey.
Turkey.
I really don't see no more questions in this chat. Rita Ray said, I am a professional body language reader. LOL. How erotic you asked that. Well, Rita, if you're I guess if you want to give your opinion or whatever the case may be, um the the Jasmine email is in the chat.
Yeah, Rita, if you would love to give your opinion on the body languages that you can read in the footage, we can definitely set up a time to come back on air to discuss again. So we went ahead and we gave it the additional time. I just want to say to everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Please share this video. We're definitely going to try to get this information over to Mama Teresa. We will most definitely get the information over to her attorney. Turkey Day to everybody. I know some of you guys are probably in the kitchens cooking right now. I got 4 hours before I have to get up to lead out or head out to this freeway and drive a 3-hour way to LA. So happy Turkey Day to everybody. You guys want to say happy Turkey Day to everybody in the room?
Happy Turkey Day.
Happy Turkey Day.
And I want
Happy
to
holidays.
and I want to say, Kayla, thank you so much for all you've done. You've been very professional, and your information has been just wonderful, and I really appreciate it, as we all do. Thank you, and you have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Thank you so much, and thank you guys for allowing me to help out. And if you have any questions or things that I couldn't answer, just email me, and then I could try to meet with a forensics pathologist up here. It's really hard to meet with these people. They've been giving me the runaround, but I'll try my best to get the answers of the questions that I couldn't answer. If you think of anything else, just let me know.
Okay, don't even worry about it. I might just come to your house for Turkey Day tomorrow.
Girl, come on, honey. Come up here.
I'm gonna be in your city, honey. I just might have to pull up on you. But yes, thank you. So listen, Taylor, you are a blessing because it's not too many people who are putting themselves on the line to be able to provide this information. And I think that's what a lot of people who are listening, who tune in, need to understand, that a lot of these people who have these credentials, they're putting themselves on the lines by just giving the advice that they're giving or their opinion that they're giving regarding this case. It's a lot of people who do not even want to touch. Okay. So yes, like Nancy said, thank you so much, because us. And again, for those who try to criticize, I'm pretty sure that there will be people who have negative things to say. Her credentials have been 100% checked and validated. So yeah, she's legit. But again, to everybody, I love you guys all so very much. Please make sure you send your emails, your comments, your questions, and your concerns so we can go ahead and double check it. Next week, we will have a explosive show with you guys when we go over all of the information that we've put together to send over to the press and the FBI. We will go through that together collectively and discuss it. That way, if there's anything that you guys feel that we have missed or need to be added, we can go ahead and add. Beautiful panel. Happy Thanksgiving. Just to let everybody know, I am so very thankful today for all of you guys that are in this room, as well as my beautiful panel who kicks in every day. Listen, they drive me crazy, guys. Like, I think that we wake up together, we go to bed together, like we fall asleep on the phone with each other. That's how serious we are about the Kenneka case. So I love my team. I love my family, my / followers, viewers. Thank you guys so much. Continue to stay positive. And again, happy Turkey Day. And we will end the show the way we end it every time, every night. Say your prayers and be very thankful tonight, coming forward, what you've experienced, and what you shall go through. We love you guys. Bye. Bye, live.
Bye, live.
Bye.
Bye, live. Bye, live. Park in the
Good
parking
night.
lot.
You want to get into it?
Hey, we can. We definitely can on Turkey Day. Who ate the last piece of turkey?
926.